Chapter 907. Under Yi Tianyun's persuasion, the two of them finally stopped quarreling, especially since his words were very reasonable. After absorbing the white flame bone fire, the difficulty of absorbing another flame would indeed increase by a bit. In other words, if they absorbed the dark devouring flame first, the white flame bone fire would also fail. This time, the two of them snorted and did not continue to argue. Do you want to control the white flame bone fire first, and then try to absorb my dark devouring flame? Ming Yueqing asked. There's no need for that. We can try one more time now. If we fail again, then I won't try for the time being. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This time he would definitely not fail. As long as he failed once, it would be fine. All right. Ming Yueqing once again passed the origin of flame over. After Yi Tianyun absorbed it, he immediately absorbed it as his own flame ability. Soon, a pleasant voice sounded in his ears. Ding! Successfully absorbed, dark devouring flame. Immediately, Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand, and with a swoosh sound, the dark devouring flame appeared in front of them. Each of them was dumbfounded. He really succeeded. Although they had failed once, it was not a problem for them. They were also quite powerful existences. One had to know that others had tried countless times, and all of them had ended in failure. Yi Tianyun succeeded on his second try, which meant that he was still a monstrous genius among monstrous geniuses. Even if he tried 10 times before succeeding, he would still be a genius among geniuses. As long as he succeeded, he would be considered a super genius. Yi Tianyun, of course, knew this truth. He just wanted to let them know that he could not succeed on his first try, and that he was not at the level of a freak. To show his ability, he must show it, otherwise, how could he win more resources for himself? Success, it's a success. Too terrifying. 2 flames are about to be mastered. They were shocked and excited at the same time, not knowing what to say. You try it, see if you can release 2 flames at the same time? Yu Yonglong found himself stuttering. He had never been so shocked in his life. No problem. According to their instructions, Yi Tianyun extended his hand and released the 2 types of flames. Soon, 2 more flames appeared in front of him. They were the white blazing bone fire and the hell-devouring nether fire. This was not difficult for him at all. If he could use all 4 types of flames. However, he didn't want to scare everyone, so he didn't use it. You've really done it. You're definitely the first person in history to have mastered 2 types of flames that completely counter each other. This matter must be reported to the domain lord. Yu Yonglong and Ming Yueqing were too excited. This was a super genius worth cultivating. How could they not report it? Yes, this must be reported. The domain lord would definitely be very happy when she found out. I didn't expect that our heavenly mandate divine realm would finally have a super genius. In this battle of heavenly ascension, he will definitely make it to the top 10. Ming Yueqing said with surprise. The two of them were excited to each other, as if they saw the hope of victory. The ascending battle of the god domain? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes as if he had obtained some information. Yes, the ascending battle of the god domain. Ming Yueqing looked at him and said with a smile, You just joined, so you don't know. Our core hall controls the battle of reputation of the heavenly mandate divine realm, and everything depends on us. I'll tell you in detail later. After all, there is still a long time. Now it's your turn, little girl. You've seen it all. Which flame do you feel? They didn't forget to give Gu Yurong a chance, especially now that they were in a very good mood. If someone praised them, they might reward them. This junior wants to absorb the dark devouring flame, mainly because this junior's bloodline belongs to the cold attribute, the bloodline of the ice dragon. The dark devouring flame is more suitable for this junior to try. Gu Yurong stated the reason for her choice, which was quite clear. The bloodline of the ice dragon. This is indeed the best choice for this flame. Ming Yueqing squinted at her and said with a smile, I can give you 2 chances, so don't be too nervous. Elder Ming, are you all right? Giving me 2 chances will hurt my body, Gu Yurong said hurriedly. Don't worry, I'm very happy today, and at most I just need a little more time to recover. It's not a big problem. Ming Yueqing smiled. This was actually equivalent to giving face to Yi Tianyun. They all thought that Gu Yurong was Yi Tianyun's woman, and in order to make their disciple feel more at ease, they would certainly give her a little extra. Just listen to Master Ming. Yi Tianyun signaled her not to refuse. Ming Yueqing was not a fool, he knew how to behave. Gu Yurong nodded, she knew that it was all because of Yi Tianyun. Then she began to accept it, and tried to swallow the dark devouring flame. As soon as the dark devouring flame was absorbed into her body immediately bloomed with a faint blue light, the blood vessels in her body all lit up, and the surface of her arms appeared with a blue light, as if it was stimulating some kind of power. Buzz. Gu Yurong closed her eyes and floated up, the origin fire in her body quickly surging around. The movement was much bigger than that of Yi Tianyun. This is not just the blood of the ice dragon, it is the body of the ice saint. Ming Yueqing said in shock. The body of the ice saint? Yi Tianyun's eyes brightened. It was quite a familiar body, wasn't it Shi Shuiyun's body? After a while, the dark devouring flame was firmly grasped by her. She stretched out her hand, and the dark devouring flame rose up. The cold air was threatening. This time, they were all stunned. Not only did Yi Tianyun succeed in absorbing the dark devouring flame in one go, but today there was another person who could successfully absorb the dark devouring flame in one go. Both of us are so lucky today, aren't we? Two people who can control the dark devouring flame. Is the heavenly mandate realm going to prosper? Their faces were red, and under their messy hair, there was a red face. They were all excited, and they had never been so excited. I have the body of the ice saint? Gu Yurong was stunned. She was not very clear about it, especially when she could use the flame. Her heart was about to fly out of her chest. It felt like a complete turnaround, a complete turnaround. Congratulations, Yi Tianyun said to her with a smile. Thank you. Her eyes were red, and tears immediately came out. She cried at the drop of a hat, and everything was inexplicable. Yi Tianyun suddenly felt a little embarrassed, and he did not know how to comfort her. Hey boy, why don't you comfort your woman? What are you doing here? Ming Yueqing reached out and patted him on the shoulder. Master, you must have misunderstood something. She is my companion, not my woman, Yi Tianyun said helplessly. What? Both of them were dumbfounded. It turned out that they had misunderstood. Chapter 908. Looking at their misunderstood expressions, Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders. Gu Yurong, who was next to him, blushed. She did not think much about it. She did not expect to be thought like that. After wiping away her tears with the back of her hand, she felt very shy. The atmosphere became awkward, and she did not know what to say. Ahem, no matter what, are you willing to be my disciple? Ming Yueqing coughed a few times to ease the awkward atmosphere. Disciple is willing. After saying that, Gu Yurong knelt down without hesitation. She was very excited. She had been waiting for this moment, but everything felt like a dream. Originally, there was no hope, but now she was about to become Ming Yueqing's disciple. This was no different from a meteoric rise. They were the elders of the heavenly mandate divine realm, and they were far from what others could compare with. Perhaps they were not the strongest elders, but they were definitely at the forefront of the elders. There was no need to say much about the benefits of following them. Good. Ming Yueqing smiled and helped Gu Yurong up. He stretched out his hand, and an upper-grade divine weapon appeared in his hand. He handed it to Gu Yurong and said, "This is a gift for you, and this is the choice token." At the same time, the election token also appeared. Now, there were 2 election tokens. Elder Ming, since you have accepted her as your disciple, then he should be my disciple, one for each of us, Yu Yanglong said with a smile. Get out! Ming Yueqing rolled his eyes at him and snorted. He has both of our flames, so I should have a share. Ming Yueqing smiled and took out a high-grade divine tool and a choice token. This is my gift to you. I wanted to give you a reincarnation-level divine tool, but you need to get used to it on your own so that it would be more suitable for you. Ming Yueqing said with a smile on his face. Yes, I also want to give you a gift. Yu Yanglong naturally did not want to fall behind, and also gave him the choice token and the upper grade divine weapon. Although the grade was not as good as the reincarnation level, it was still an upper grade divine weapon. It was an extremely precious superior grade divine artifact in the ordinary realm, and he gave it away without hesitation. After Lee Tianyun took it, wouldn't he have 3 choice tokens? Gu Yurong was very envious as she watched from the side. 2 masters were indeed different, being able to receive 2 sets of rewards. But she was not jealous at all. She was quite satisfied to get so many rewards, especially a master. If she went back and told her family, it would definitely make them explode. Almost. You have 2 choice tokens, so you can have 2 chances. It doesn't matter if you fail, there is a second chance. It doesn't matter if you fail once, there is a second chance. We won't give you too many choice tokens. Everything will depend on your own abilities. Yu Yanglong patted him on the shoulder and said, "You can rest here. Someone will arrange accommodation for you later. Wait for our notice." After that, they of them, Ian said, now that only the 2 of them were left in the hall, Gu Yurong paused for a moment before saying, "Senior brother E, thank you for your help. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity." He would never forget this kindness. "If there's anything you need me for in the future, I'll definitely help." Her tone was sonorous and forceful, filled with deep gratitude. "This is just in passing." Lee Tianyun smiled and said, "All right, let's go back to rest and familiarize ourselves with these flames." He didn't really care about this kind of thing. From the beginning to the end, it was Gu Yurong's own ability. It didn't have much to do with him. It was too much to say that he had helped. Although he did help, it was only a trivial matter. After they left, the guards quickly came to greet them and brought them back to their rooms. Their rooms were in the elders' hall, and they lived in the same place as the elders. Their treatment was much better than that of the core disciples outside. The treatment is really good. No wonder they desperately squeezed in. Just the accommodation alone is so amazing. Who wouldn't want to come in? When Lee Tianyun entered the accommodation, it was a unique small courtyard. The surrounding trees were not ordinary at all, but Tier 6 spirit trees. Of course, in this place they could only be called lower Tier 6. In the God domain, there were 2 levels, lower and upper tier. The lower tier indicated that it belonged to the Fanyu, and the upper tier indicated that it belonged to the God domain. Of course, in the ordinary realm, he had never seen a lower grade 8 or lower grade 9, in fact, he had never seen one. In the 3 realms, he had at most seen Tier 6 or Tier 7. He had never seen Tier 8 and above. Since the 3 realms couldn't grow, it naturally didn't exist. Here, there were Tier 6 and Tier 7 spirit trees or spirit herbs everywhere. As for the God domain's high-grade spirit herbs, there were none here. After all, the God domain was also dominated by lower Tier 9. Upper Tier 9 was not that easy to obtain. Even in the God domain, which was a good environment for growth, it was not easy to grow. In particular, this place was not very suitable for growth, so naturally, it would not be seen here. However, the environment here was still top-notch. With so many spirit herbs and spirit herbs here, if they were placed in the Fanyu, it would definitely cause a war in the Divine Kingdom. How could one not be tempted to have so many spirit herbs and spirit herbs so casually? Lee Tianyun looked around. There were many spirit trees, but to him, they were not of much value. Especially for those with a higher cultivation level, the experience points gained from consuming them were not much. They could only be used for viewing or to increase the concentration of star power here. Lee Tianyun randomly found a place in the room and sat down to meditate. He did not cultivate, but instead he started to do the lottery. Previously in the 3 realms, he had obtained 2 lottery chances, but he had not had the time to use them. He wondered what he would get this time. Lottery! Soon, the lottery wheel appeared. As he activated the lucky halo, the needle stopped on the consumable item. Lee Tianyun was not disappointed. In any case, it would definitely not be bad. Ding dong! After opening the wooden box, what appeared in front of him was Teleportation God Stone. Not bad, good stuff. Lee Tianyun's eyes lit up. It's not bad to get Teleportation God Stone, he can use it. Of course, It doesn't matter if he doesn't have it, the shop has it for sale. At most, he just needs to spend some crazy points to buy it. Then he continued to draw the second reward. This time the needle still pointed to the consumable item. Why did I get 2 consumable items in a row? Yi Tianyun felt a little helpless. After opening the wooden box, a 100 times EXP card appeared in front of him. Well, this thing is not bad. Chapter 909. The God Realm Lottery Roulette. After Yi Tianyun activated the God Realm Lottery Roulette, it was no different from the previous ones. Most of the situations were similar, and there were no changes in the categories. At most, the appearance of the roulette had a slight change, such as an extra golden border, but these were not the main point. The main point was what grade of items he could get. It was very likely that he would get a Samsara grade treasure. These were all possibilities. Compared to this, he was more concerned about whether he could get a godly skill. A godly skill of the God Realm, what would it be like? Let me draw. Soon, the lottery roulette spun quickly. He did not want to get a consumable item, but a godly skill. If he could get a higher grade godly skill, it would undoubtedly be of great help to him. Looking at the spinning lottery roulette, he had not been so excited in a long time. He hoped that he could get a godly skill. The lottery roulette seemed to hear his shouts, and finally stopped on the godly skill. The most difficult godly skill to get was presented in front of him just like that. Yi Tianyun could not help but shout, his heart filled with excitement. He was just thinking about it a little more. Whether he could get a godly skill or not was another matter. After getting a godly skill, he was really a little excited. Gulp. Following that, a crystal box fell into his inventory. Just the box itself had undergone a huge change, turning into a crystal form. This was the first time it had changed. Previously, it had always been a wooden box, but now it had become a crystal box. Of course, no matter what box it was, the box would not belong to him after opening it. It would disappear immediately, so he selectively ignored the change in appearance. I wonder what kind of godly skill it will be? Yi Tianyun rubbed his palms and opened the crystal box. Soon, the godly skill appeared in front of him. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining godly skill, invisibility. What? Invisibility? Yi Tianyun was stunned. How could it be invisibility? Didn't he get it before? After taking a closer look, he realized that it was indeed invisibility, but it was only a high-level one. Invisibility, godly skill, invisibility. Whether attacked, will not be revealed. At level 4, it could last for 30 minutes and had a cooldown of 1 hour. It could guarantee that anyone within the 5th floor of the Lord of Heaven would not be able to recognize it. The completely enhanced version quickly replaced the pitiful invisibility from before and became the level 4 invisibility. It greatly increased the level of invisibility and the corresponding level of cultivation. Overall, it's not a loss. At least he doesn't need to spend a lot of crazy point to level up, which requires a lot of crazy point to level up to level 4. In theory, it was not a loss, but it was a little disappointing. Looks like the godly skill also has a repetition. I thought there would be a new one. Yi Tianyun shook his head. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him, extinguishing his passion just like that. However, he did not feel depressed. Since that was the case, there was no other way. He could only wait for the next lottery draw. Following him, he reorganized the place a little, selling off everything he didn't need, or using it to concoct pills or forge weapons. He got rid of a lot of things he didn't need in order to completely clean up his inventory. This was especially true for the martial arts from before. Many of the martial arts that he didn't need had been cleared away. The things that he got from killing the enemies were cleared away. These were basically useless. The things that were really useful here were at least rebirth level and above. Below this level, he could use them, but later on, when dealing with stronger enemies, heaven level was not enough. Almost, it's time to go to the selection hall to exchange for what I need. He didn't rest here for too long. After a general understanding of the situation in the divine realm, he chose to leave. He just came to the divine realm, so there were a lot of things he didn't know. Fortunately, he could get information at will here. He ordered the guards outside and immediately brought him a lot of detailed information about the divine realm. Once he had a clear understanding of everything, he wouldn't be like a hothead, running around aimlessly. Immediately, he got up and went to the selection hall. He could go through the teleportation formation outside. Because he was a core disciple, there was basically no need for teleportation fees. Under normal circumstances, teleportation fees were required. Even if he was a disciple of the heavenly mandate divine realm, using the teleportation formation required a fee. After all, the energy required for teleportation was not a small expense. After arriving at the selection hall, it was more like a planet than a hall. Just like the core hall, a planet was specially divided as a location. The huge selection hall had many layers inside and outside, with a constant flow of people coming and going. Their cultivations were basically at the Star Lord level. There was no Sage King level cultivator. Basically, these people were not qualified to come here. At least, they needed to be at the Star Lord level to be qualified. If one didn't know better, he would think that so many people had the selection token. In fact, there were several ways to exchange in this selection hall. Either it was the selection token, or it could be exchanged with contribution points. Of course, the crudest way was to exchange with currency. The currency of the divine realm was a kind of energy stone called Star Stone, which was similar to those spirit stones. However, it contained rich star power, which could be used to refine weapons. However, the most important thing was to use it for cultivation. Among them, using Star Stone to exchange was the worst. The price was far higher than other methods. It was not cost-effective. Therefore, most people used contribution points to exchange, and only a few used the selection token. The difference between contribution points and the selection token was that the selection token could be given to others, but the contribution points could only be used by oneself. In a sense, the selection token was the most valuable. However, it was slightly more expensive. After all, it could be given to others. After entering, the outermost hall was divided into many areas. They were the weapons area, the martial techniques area, the defensive equipment area, the medicinal pills area, the spirit herbs area, and so on. There were many areas, and each area had items of the corresponding grade. For example, in the outermost hall, the lowest grade was a heaven-grade martial technique. There were also divine tool-grade weapons with corresponding prices. There were also clearly marked prices, such as how many star stones or contribution points were needed. The selection token was not effective here, as it was used for comparison. Tianyun looked around and saw many people exchanging nearby. He was not interested in this place, so he raised his foot and walked in. When he passed through this hall, the area inside was similar to the outside. However, the items inside were worlds apart. Among them, one could exchange for samsara-grade martial techniques, samsara-grade weapons, and so on. However, the prices were extremely shocking. For example, an inferior-grade samsara-grade weapon required 20 selection tokens. He only had 3, so he could not exchange for it at all. Chapter 9-10. The election platform was very obvious. It was right in the center of the hall. There were 3 election platforms at the same time, divided into 3 levels: low, medium, and high. Each level required an election token or corresponding contribution points to exchange. The low level required 1 election token or 100 contribution points. The medium level required 2 election tokens or 200 contribution points. The high level required 3 election tokens or 300 contribution points. 100 contribution points did not seem to be a lot, but it was extremely difficult to obtain. Unless one completed a difficult task, it was basically 1 or 2 contribution points. This meant that one had to complete hundreds or even 50 tasks to exchange for 1 election platform. The high level of difficulty might be above 3 or 4 points, or 5 points was the highest. Even then, one would need to complete 20 tasks to be able to get on the election platform. Correspondingly, the high level of difficulty would be accompanied by many dangers. One might die on the way. The heavenly mandate divine realm would not be responsible for this. If one died on the way, it would have nothing to do with them. Imagine 100 contribution points was equal to 1 election token. This meant that if one wanted to get the reincarnation level weapons on the side, one would need 2,000 contribution points to exchange for them. After all, one needed 20 election tokens to exchange for them. However, few people would directly exchange for them. That was the behavior of the rich. Most of them came here for the election platform. There were 3 election platforms in front of them. The low-level election platform had the most people. Thousands of people surrounded it. Only 10 people could get on at a time, so they had to line up one by one. On the medium-level election platform, there were fewer people. There were still hundreds of people waiting on the side. The election platform had the least people. It could be said that there were only dozens of people waiting on the side. The election platform was a kind of test. The difficulty of each election platform was different. After completing the test, the treasure of one's choice would come out. In the normal level, one could choose any treasure of the reincarnation level. In the medium level, one could choose any treasure of the reincarnation level. In the high level, one could choose any treasure of the reincarnation level. This was an extremely profitable method. One choice token could allow one to choose a low-grade samsara level treasure that they liked. After all, it was something that could be exchanged for more than 20 tokens. How could it not be profitable? In reality, everything was bullshit. If it was that easy to earn, the selection hall would have collapsed a long time ago. Damn it, I failed again. This is the 8th time, and I still can't pass the test. It's too difficult. The cultivator who was meditating shook and woke up. He began to curse loudly. Your 8th time is nothing. I've already tried 16 times, and I haven't succeeded even once. If that's the case, I might as well save up and exchange for a weapon. The other one scowled miserably. After thinking about it carefully, he realized that if he continued to save up for a while, he would be able to exchange for it directly. Yi Tianyun revealed a smile. This voting platform was just that exciting. In order to obtain treasures, one had to pay the price. One needed to be very strong to obtain them. Otherwise, why would he be able to choose more than 20 tokens worth of treasures with just one choice token? The Heavenly Mandate Divine Region was not a fool. This was not only a way to retrieve tokens and contribution points, but it was also a way to test their abilities. Similarly, it was the same for the previous ones. The price of a mid-grade reincarnation level treasure was even more terrifying. It required at least 50 tokens. Now, only 2 choice tokens were needed. Who wouldn't be tempted? No matter what, they had to try one more time. Unexpectedly, they plunged in and found that they had gone further and further. In total, they had spent dozens of tokens, or even more than 70 or 80 tokens. After all, it could be exchanged with contribution points. It was not surprising to have such a number. But when they realized it, they found that they had already lost a lot. No wonder Captain Gu said that it depends on their abilities. Yi Tianyun shook his head. One choice token could be exchanged for something here, but it was limited to a mid-grade divine weapon. The number of top-grade divine weapons was more than that. To put it bluntly, the choice token was very valuable, but it was limited to the voting platform. It could not be exchanged for anything else. The elders also thought so. Giving him the choice token was to let him try 2 more times on the primary voting platform. It would be very good if he could get a low-grade reincarnation level treasure. But there was a problem. No matter what level, after getting it once, it could not be obtained again. If he could get it all the time, he would have to try on the primary voting platform all the time. The Heavenly Mandate realm would suffer a great loss. Therefore, he could only participate once at most. There was no more. Even so, being able to obtain 3 treasures from each of the 3 choice stages was already quite satisfactory. Yi Tianyun glanced at it casually and lifted his foot to the 3rd place. He did not choose the primary voting platform, nor did he choose the intermediate voting platform. He directly chose the advanced voting platform. Now he had 3 choice tokens. He could directly choose the highest voting platform, but whether he could succeed or not was another matter. It should not be a big problem for him to choose the primary voting platform steadily, but it was another matter for the advanced voting platform. It was not that he liked challenging the high voting platform, but the test given by the voting platform must be decided by cultivation. It was not fixed to arrange a certain level of cultivation to fight. Different voting platforms had different ranges. However, the dozens of people on the edge of the advanced voting platform were all at the Lord of Earth realm. Any one of them was much stronger than him. Xiao Qin had just appeared, but when someone noticed him, he immediately frowned and said, "You are a human. What are you doing here?" There were no humans among the dozens of people here. There were only a few human cultivators on the intermediate voting platform. There were slightly more people on the primary voting platform, but they were still in the minority overall. On the other hand, there were more people from the other races. This was very awkward. "I'm here to participate in the test. Is there a problem?" Yi Tianyun asked indifferently. As he said this, the group of people in front of him who were waiting to take the test looked over and sized him up. Some of them even laughed. He is only a 7th or 8th layer star venerate, and he dares to come to the advanced voting platform. Isn't this the behavior of an idiot? Fool, let this elder brother advise you out of goodwill. Quickly go back to the primary voting platform. You are just wasting the voting platform token here. Hee. What's the point of advising him? If he really wants to try, just let him come. At that time, he won't even have tears to cry. The 300 contribution points that he worked so hard to accumulate will be gone just like that. All of them looked at him with mocking expressions, like they were looking at a fool with a lot of money. Chapter 9:11. Yi Tianyun's tone made them even more unhappy. "Boy, do you want to die?" Chen Baihan's eyes shot out a cold light, as if he wanted to pierce Yi Tianyun. "Of course I don't want to die. I just want to say, what's wrong with participating in this high-level election?" Yi Tianyun was not afraid of him. Instead, he looked Chen Baihan up and down. Chen Baihan's cultivation was roughly at the 2nd refinement realm, the same level as Captain Gu. However, he was much younger than Gu Yanlong. It seemed that he should be a disciple of the inner hall, not the core hall. Of course, it was also possible that he was a disciple of the core hall, but he was not very clear about his own affairs. He did not know whether the news of him breaking the record had been spread. Even if it was spread, it was normal not to know what he looked like. The human clan should have the awareness of the human clan. Can you go back to the primary election platform for such an arrogant thing? Don't dirty the advanced election platform here. Chen Baihan roared angrily. Now people around looked over. When they saw that it was a human who was cursing, they all showed an expression of schadenfreude. They did not know why there was a fool coming from the side. Even if he just looked here, he would be cursed to death. The most important thing was that the human clan was the most important existence. As long as it was a human, they would be cursed to death. Most people chose to reject it, because they would definitely be cursed if they came to see. Oh, you make it sound so powerful. Did you build this advanced election platform? You said that I dirty the election platform. Have you been cleaning here all the time? If you don't have these 2 points, then move the election platform back if you have the ability, and I promise I will not look at it again, Yi Tianyun sneered. Boy, it seems that you want to do this the hard way. If you have the ability, fight with me, and we will see on the arena. I will let you know what you can say and what you can't say. If you don't accept the duel, then stay at home and don't come out and make trouble. Chen Baihan was angry. He wanted to beat Yi Tianyun hard now. But he could not beat him at will. There were rules in the heavenly mandate realm, and he could not do whatever he wanted. If they wanted to fight, they had to go to the arena. If they fought outside, they would be chased out. Tianyun looked him up and down as if he was looking at an idiot and said, "Are you an idiot? I'm just here to take the test. What's wrong with me having the choice token? You're just an idiot. I can't be bothered with you." Yi Tianyun waved his hand. He couldn't be bothered to argue with him. He then looked up at the voting platform to see if it was his turn. As expected of a human, a coward. He looked quite imposing just now, but now it seems that he's just a coward. Chen Baihan was furious. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He looked at him and sneered, "Our cultivation bases are so different, and you still have the face to fight with me? If I was a 5th refinement Earth Monarch, Would you be willing to duel with me? Is bullying those with a lower level of cultivation what the Break Skies are capable of? Chen Baihan was from the Break Skies, which was a very good blood pulse race. According to the blood pulse ranking, he would be in the top 20. No wonder he was so arrogant. After being questioned by Yi Tianyun, Chen Baihan looked glum. What Yi Tianyun said was true. Their cultivation bases were so far apart. If Yi Tianyun was a 5th refinement Earth monarch, would he dare talk to Yi Tianyun like that? He probably wouldn't even dare fart. Brother Chen, how about I suggest this? Suddenly, a young man walked over and patted Chen Baihan on the shoulder. He looked at Yi Tianyun with cold eyes and said, he wants to participate in the high-level choice platform, right? Let him participate. It looks like he won't succeed. Let's see who can last longer. Whoever lasts longer wins. What do you think? The difficulty of the advanced choice platform was too high. They all came here with the attitude of giving it a try. What if they succeeded? But most of them didn't succeed. The success rate was too low. This was a high-tier reincarnation class treasure, not a low-tier reincarnation class weapon. It would be difficult to obtain it. That's a good idea. Chen Baihan smiled. Brother Dong, that's a good idea. Of course, this way no one will accuse us of bullying. Even if there is a difference in cultivation, the content will change according to the level of cultivation. Dong Feng looked at Yi Tianyun and smiled. What do you think of this idea? It seems fair to you, right? Yi Tianyun looked at them and smiled. I'm just here to participate in the test. I'm not here to fight with you guys. But it looks like you guys know I'll win. You want to compete with me? That's right. If you lose, you'd better get the hell away from us in the future. Kneel down and call me daddy. How does that sound? Chen Baihan laughed coldly. Oh, that's a very harsh condition. What if you lose? What do I get out of this? Yi Tianyun smiled. I'll lose? Chen Baihan laughed. He looked at him disdainfully and said, You're thinking too much. It's impossible for me to lose. Rules are rules. If you lose, not only do you have to call me daddy, but you also have to give me all your things. How about it? A cold look flashed past Yi Tianyun's eyes. Since he wanted to provoke him, he had to pay a price. What a joke. What qualifications do you have to make me do this? Chen Baihan was immediately furious. He didn't think he would lose. But this condition was too harsh. He had to give everything away. It was too much of a loss. You won't lose. So what if I have a little more? Yi Tianyun looked him up and down. He smiled and said, So, you think you'll lose? How can I lose? Chen Baihan was infuriated. He sneered. Fine, let's bet. I'm looking forward to you kneeling down and calling me daddy. He felt that if he continued, the people next to him would think that he was afraid and that he would lose. This was something he couldn't allow. He could only bite the bullet and accept it. He still didn't think he would lose. His cultivation was higher than his opponent. His race was stronger than his opponent. Why couldn't he win? Is that so? I hope you have the chance. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. You want to play with me with such an IQ? He just had to dig a hole and wait for them to jump in. Soon, the people on the top quickly retreated. They all had disappointed expressions. It was too difficult to get good treasures. It's about time. When you two start, we'll start the timer immediately. Dong Feng was the referee. He was helping them calculate the time. When Yi Tianyun took out the option token, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to take out the option token. Because most of them used contribution points, they were the same. They used contribution points and not the choice token. Chapter 9:12. Usually, only captains or those with a decent status could obtain an option token. Only those who have been in the position for a long time can get the election token. For example, Gu Yanlong gets an election token every 10 years. Of course, he also gets contribution points. The difference is that the election token is equivalent to an extra reward. He can give it to others or use it himself. There are so many martial arts and treasures here, even the Lord of Heaven level can use it, let alone the Earth Monarch level. So now when Yi Tianyun took out the election token, everyone stared at him and had a few speculations in their hearts. The human in front of them is so fearless. Does he have a backer? But when they thought about it carefully, it seems that there is no human in an important position. Their doubts quickly disappeared, and they don't even bother to think about it. If there is no human in an important position, then this election token must be exchanged with some treasure, or with contribution points. These are all possible. In any case, there is no need to worry about these things. There is no need to worry about it. There is no need to worry about it. What they are most afraid of is provoking someone with a backer, then they will be in trouble. Ding! Triggered side quest, pass the election platform. Complete the election platform of different difficulty, get different level of reward. Reward, 150 billion EXP, 5 million crazy points, 5 million proficiency. Reward, 100 billion EXP, 2,500,000 crazy points, 2,500,000 proficiency. Reward, 2,500,000 proficiency. Reward, 100 billion EXP, 2,500,000 proficiency. The rewards are halved. There is no doubt that the higher difficulty is more cost-effective. The corresponding difficulty is definitely not easy. Now that the task popped up, I almost thought that there is no task. Lee Tianyun shook his head, but he is still a little happy. There is definitely a lot of benefits for him. He needs to level up now, but he can't go crazy for the time being, so he can only climb up slowly. But he already has a preliminary understanding of the situation here, and roughly knows the direction to gain experience. For the time being, he needs to deal with the situation here, and then go to the Earth Monarch level. Are you two ready? Dong Feng looked at the two of them. They both nodded and quickly sat down to meditate. After Lee Tianyun threw out the 3 tokens, they disappeared into the air. At the same time, a divine light shone down from the sky and enveloped him. This way, the people around him wouldn't be able to disturb him, and he could focus on passing the test. Please choose the treasure you want. A phantom appeared on the side and asked them what kind of treasure they wanted to choose. There weren't many high-grade samsara treasures. In fact, there were only 3 samsara weapons in the area ahead. Apart from that, there were 2 reincarnation-level martial arts, but nothing else. This meant that there were only 5 treasures in total. There really weren't any more. In the vast heavenly mandate realm, there were only 5 upper-grade samsara-level treasures? Of course, it was not possible. The elders all had high-grade reincarnation-level treasures. But overall, there weren't many of them. In fact, they were pitifully few. After all, high-grade reincarnation treasures were simply too precious. On the other hand, there were many middle-grade reincarnation treasures. In particular, lower-grade reincarnation treasures filled many rooms. Chen Baihan also threw out a token. The matrix lit up, and after the contribution points inside were automatically deducted, a ray of light shrouded the area. I want the heaven-killing divine spear. Chen Baihan looked at the heaven-killing divine spear with burning eyes. His eyes were full of desire. He had always wanted to get this spear. If he got it, it would be like a god helping him. Everyone nodded. The heaven-killing divine spear was a very powerful divine spear. Compared to other things, it would be a little easier. Although they were all high-grade reincarnation-level treasures, the difficulty was different. Naturally, the less difficult ones would be chosen first. Of course, it didn't matter even if several people chose at the same time. Anyway, it depended on who had the most ability and got it first. Lee Tianyun glanced around and finally fixed his eyes on the 2 martial arts manuals. The 2 martial arts manuals were Heavenly Mandate Divine Technique and Raging Sky Technique. These 2 were the top martial arts manuals in the Heavenly Mandate realm. They were the most difficult to get. Basically, no one dared to touch them. There had always been rumors that whoever got one of them would have the chance to become a candidate for the Region Master, which meant the same position as Nian Xiu. Even if one didn't have that kind of cultivation, he could still become a candidate. This was just a rumor. After all, no one had gotten this martial arts manual. No one knew whether it was true or not. I want Raging Sky Technique. Lee Tianyun pointed at Raging Sky Technique. He didn't choose the Heavenly Mandate Divine Technique, but Raging Sky Technique. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Then, there was a burst of laughter in the crowd. Is this kid's head broken? He actually chose Raging Sky technique? Even if he wants to admit defeat in advance, he doesn't have to do this, does he? Yeah, I thought he would choose the heaven-killing Divine Spear. Who doesn't know that the difficulty of the heaven-killing Divine Spear is lower than the others? How dare he play like this? I don't know whether he is a fool or he doesn't know the rules here. I think it's more that he doesn't know the rules. He thinks that the martial arts manual is powerful, so he wants it. If it were me, I would also want it, but who can succeed? A fool is a fool. It seems that Chen Baihan will get a cheap son later. They all laughed. They thought that Yi Tianyun would choose the heaven-killing Divine Spear or some other weapon. Who knew that he would choose a martial arts manual that most people didn't dare to choose? Whoever chose it would lose. This had always been the rule. Now, Yi Tianyun chose it. Under the highest difficulty, how long could he last? What an idiot. I'm looking forward to your expression when you kneel down and call me father when you come out. After Chen Baihan laughed, he didn't bother to pay attention to him. He quickly went into meditation, integrated his soul consciousness into the choice platform, and began the test. Yi Tianyun smiled and ignored him. He also integrated his soul consciousness into the choice platform and began the test. When both of them were in meditation, Dong Feng immediately turned over the huge hourglass on the side, and the fine sand slowly fell. Such a huge hourglass could last for at least a few days. Whoever woke up first would lose. Humans are humans. This is just the beginning, and we already know who will win and who will lose. Dong Feng shook his head. He felt that this was really a joke. There was no suspense in this competition. At the same time, there was an ordinary woman standing on the side, watching them compete. She stood in the crowd, as if she didn't exist at all. She just stood on the side, watching Yi Tianyun with great interest. Chapter 9:13. Come, let's place our bets. The human brat is 1 to 10, Chen Baihan is 1 to 2, the two are even, 1 to 20. As long as there were bets, there would be someone acting as the banker for people to place their bets. The cultivators seemed to smell the scent of money, all taking out large amounts of star stones and placing their bets over there. I bet 500 star stones on Chen Baihan. I also bet 1,000 star stones on Chen Baihan. Haha, isn't this giving away money? I bet 1,500 star stones on Chen Baihan, all my wealth. All of them placed their entire wealth. They were extremely excited. They definitely wouldn't miss a bet that could double their wealth. As for those who bet on Yi Tianyun, they were pitifully few. It could be said that there were none. The banker's expression immediately collapsed. If Yi Tianyun lost, wouldn't he lose all his money? But this was the banker, he wanted to earn money like this. I bet 10,000 star stones on that human. That ordinary girl walked over, took out a storage ring, and placed it on Yi Tianyun's side. This action immediately shocked everyone. There really was someone stupid with a lot of money, the only one present to bet on Yi Tianyun. When they saw this girl, they couldn't be bothered to take another look. Such an ordinary appearance, really no one would take a second look even if she was thrown to the side of the road. Many thanks, many thanks. The banker beamed, looked at them and said with a smile, hurry up and place your bets. Now that people have placed their bets, this human also has a high chance of winning. He started to encourage others to place their bets. This way they could recover some losses. Of course, in his heart, he was still very much looking forward to Yi Tianyun turning the tables. That would be a huge profit. But with his encouragement, no one was willing to place their bets. They would only laugh at this banker. Do you take us for fools? If he had chosen the heaven-slaying divine spear, he might still have a chance of winning. But now he chose heaven-slaying divine spear. This is simply courting death. Whoever chooses is a fool. That's right, well said. If he had chosen any other weapon, I might have bet on him, but choosing heaven-slaying divine spear, this is no doubt. It wasn't that they didn't want to support the human race, but because they chose heaven's wrath, they didn't dare to choose Yi Tianyun. The preciousness of violent heaven Jew was much more expensive than other weapons. These things could also be exchanged for with election tokens or contribution points. For example, the heaven-slaying divine spear required 5,000 election tokens to be exchanged. As for the Heaven's Fury art, it required 15,000 tokens. The difference could be imagined. Obtaining 15,000 Violent Heavenju with 3 choice tokens. Even if one used their feet to think, one would know how difficult it was. The Zhuang family was extremely embarrassed. How could he not see this? However, he still wanted to take a gamble. If anyone could determine the winner with a glance, what would be the point? The next scene was to place all their bets on Chen Baihan. They didn't care if the banker would go bankrupt. They just wanted to squeeze the banker dry. The Zhuang family had always been the blackest. Of course, they wouldn't be polite. While no one was betting on Yi Tianyun had already begun his test inside. Roar! A berserk cultivator was carrying all sorts of weapons. His eyes were filled with violence, and a berserk aura was released from his body. His combat prowess was off the charts. Berserker knows the illusion of Violent Heavenju. Cultivation, Peak Starry Sky Realm. Weakness, none. Overall combat prowess, 5,800 star power. With the addition of a superior grade reincarnation grade martial art, their combat prowess was as high as 5,800 star power, far surpassing existences of the same level. Previously, those 8th-stage Starry Sky Realm cultivators only had over 3,000 star power. Now, these guys had reached 5,800 star power. The effects of their martial arts were truly shocking. However, this was only limited to illusions, and it was based on Yi Tianyun's cultivation. His cultivation was 8th-stage Starry Sky Realm. Then he would increase it by 2 levels, reaching the peak Starry Sky Realm. If he was an Earth Monarch, he would definitely increase it by 1 or 2 levels. Then, his combat prowess wouldn't be that simple. 5,800 star power is too weak. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Only he could say such words. He didn't need to rely on any crazy attacks to crush them. However, those titles couldn't be used anymore, which was a pity. Otherwise, he could just casually take out a title and it would be enough to crush them. Violent Cloud. The illusion smashed down from the sky without hesitation. The high-grade divine tool in its hand swung down fiercely, and its combat prowess skyrocketed. After using the power of this martial art, its combat prowess soared again, reaching 13,000 star power. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This is the true power of Violent Heavenju, increasing its combat prowess by almost 3 times in one go. However, this was just an illusion. If it was a real powerhouse, it would probably be even stronger. Interesting, but it's a pity that you met me. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed, and he suddenly kicked the illusion, Shocking Heavenju. The Berserk Dragon God bloodline and Shocking Heavenju superimposed to form a perfect match. With a fierce kick, the Berserker was directly stomped into powder with a loud boom. Ding! Successfully killed Berserker. Reward, 1. 4 billion EXP, 300,000 crazy point. Huh, I get EXP? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He thought it would be the same as killing the illusion before. He didn't expect to get EXP. Immediately, 2 berserkers appeared in front of Yi Tianyun, and as soon as they appeared, they immediately swung their divine tools. Their cultivation didn't change, but they used all kinds of Violent Heavenju's moves. Their combat prowess kept soaring, but no matter how crazy they are not as crazy as Yi Tianyun. Get out of here! Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed, and he kicked with his leg, throwing out a fierce shockwave, directly shattering the 2 illusions into powder. Ding! Successfully killed Berserker. Reward, 44. 8 billion EXP, 1,500,000 crazy point. Ding! Successfully killed Berserker. Reward, 44. 8 billion EXP, 1,500,000 crazy point. Under the superimposition of 32 times EXP and 5 times crazy point, it instantly exploded. This made him exclaim in delight. He didn't think that he could gain experience here. Before, he was worried that he didn't have enough EXP to level up, but now it's all EXP. If he continues to kill, leveling up will not be a problem at all. Come on. Come on. Yi Tianyun was so excited that he couldn't wait to level up 2 times in a row to break through to the Earth Monarch realm. Xiao! The surroundings seemed to respond to his words, and soon 3 berserkers appeared and continued to smash him. He laughed and rushed up to fight. He didn't use any weapons, just his fists and legs are enough. Chapter 9:14. While Yi Tianyun was fighting fiercely inside, there were also many people betting outside. However, most of them chose to watch and didn't come over to place their bets. As for Yi Tianyun, there were still some bets. Those who would bet on Yi Tianyun were basically human cultivators. When they saw Yi Tianyun and Chen Baihan fighting, they all placed their bets in order not to look shabby. However, they didn't dare to bet too much. They knew what had happened. Who would dare to suppress their bets? Tens of star stones or even hundreds of star stones were already considered a lot. Star stones were quite precious. They could be exchanged with contribution points. Basically, 1 contribution point could be exchanged for 1 star stone. However, star stones couldn't be exchanged for contribution points. They were 2 different methods. In theory, the choice token was more valuable than the contribution points, and the contribution points were more valuable than star stones. It was clear from the price. Reincarnation level treasures couldn't be exchanged with star stones. Contribution points and the choice token were required. The divine tools outside could be exchanged with star stones. The difference was obvious. Star stones were currency, but not absolute. Some things were valuable, but it was a loss to exchange them for star stones. For example, a divine pill that was helpful to oneself could be exchanged for star stones. It seemed like star stones were a lot, but the effect was far less than that of a divine pill. Hence, if one wanted to exchange for divine pills, he had to use divine pills of other levels. As for currency, it was not useless. It was more important in the auction. I wonder how long Chen Baihan can last this time? I remember that he lasted for 2 days last time. However, he still didn't pass. What a pity. He lasted for 2 days. Moreover, he kept fighting with his opponent. If it depends on who can last longer, he will definitely hide. By then, let alone 2 days, even 4 days won't be a problem. Come to think of it, it seems that Chen Baihan will definitely win this time. This guy is really blind. He doesn't even know who his opponent is before the competition. Rushing forward like this is simply courting death. All of them shook their heads and looked at the dealer at the side. Their eyes were shining. This was a great fortune for them. It would be doubled later. Just thinking about it made them excited. The Zhuang clan was like a prey that had been targeted. He felt goosebumps all over his back. He only hoped that he could kill the Zhuang clan. Not long after, the light enveloping Yi Tianyun's body disappeared. Then he slowly opened his eyes, and 2 beams of light shot out. He's out so soon. It hasn't even been 4 hours and he's out. I told you this kid is going to lose. That's right. Banker, hurry up and pay up, we've won. It's too fast. I haven't even warmed my butt and it's already over. This money is too easy to earn. One by one, they rushed to the Zhuang's side, wanting to get a share of the money. The banker's face was full of bitterness, and he could only prepare to take out money to make up for it. He had originally wanted to make a fortune, but now it seemed like he was going to lose his pants. Just when everyone thought that Yi Tianyun had lost, the violent heaven Jew on the side released a ray of light, which then rushed into Yi Tianyun's head, as if it was pouring the contents of the violent heaven Jew into his head. Ding! Are you willing to accept violent heaven execution? The system's voice sounded. Accept. Ding! Successfully learned the first 3 levels of violent heaven execution. Only the first 3 levels, isn't it a bit too stingy? As expected, it won't give out all of it. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He thought that it could give out all of it, and as expected, it would hold back. Such a precious martial art, no matter how heaven-defying the disciple was, it couldn't be given out so easily. What if there was a traitor? The first 3 levels were already very good content, at least for those who were below the Earth Monarch realm. It was completely enough. Many cultivators who were preparing to take out money from the Zhuang's side were stunned when they saw this scene. All of them were dumbfounded, including Dong Feng who was at the side. As long as one wasn't blind, they would know that Yi Tianyun had succeeded. The violent heaven execution had a reaction to him, and the contents inside were poured into Yi Tianyun's head. Wasn't this very obvious? After obtaining the violent heaven execution, it wouldn't directly send down the martial art, but would only transfer the contents of the memory. Hence, it could be given to other disciples many times, provided that they succeeded in the challenge. My harvest this time is pretty good. Not only did my cultivation increase, but I also obtained this martial art. I guess I did not lose out. Yi Tianyun stood up, feeling very satisfied with the current situation. His cultivation had broken through from the 8th layer of the star venerate to the 9th layer. Unfortunately, he did not break through to the peak. As Shaochen continued killing, more and more berserkers appeared. First, it was 1-on-1, then 1-on-2, then 1-on-3. Finally, it was 1-on-5. After a few rounds, it ended. This was the test. A group of cultivators who used the violent heaven execution were known as berserkers. After killing several batches, Shaochen finally succeeded. It had to be said that the difficulty was startling. If not for being a little tyrannical, he would have lost. When Shaochen stood up, he discovered that everyone was staring at him in a daze. He immediately knew what was going on. Then, he turned to look at them and smiled faintly. I wonder if I win after I obtain the item. Or are you just competing in time? The faces of Dong Feng and the others twitched. They all believed that no one could obtain the treasure, which was why they were competing in time. If someone obtained it, it would be considered a victory. If anyone said that whoever stayed longer would be considered a victory, their head would be kicked. Based on this logic, as long as someone won, it meant that they had plenty of time. This way, he would be able to stay as long as he wanted, and winning would be a piece of cake. We won. Our human race won. Banker, pay up. Banker, pay up. That's right. We won. Our human race won. All of them grew excited and rushed to the banker's side. The thrill of winning could no longer compare to the thrill of Yi Tianyun winning this match. After all, this was equivalent to a ruthless slap to their faces. Previously, they had looked down on Yi Tianyun. Now that he won so easily, their faces would definitely be slapped swollen. One by one. There's no rush. There's no rush. The banker beamed with joy as he handed out the money. Those who did not know what was going on would think that he was a fool. Little did they know that he had earned big. With so many people betting on Chen Baihan, how could he not earn? Miss, here are 10,000 star stones. The banker handed the storage ring to the ordinary-looking woman, indicating that she should accept it. After the ordinary-looking woman accepted it, she looked at Yi Tianyun, who was standing on the stage, and said with a smile, "Interesting. This is really beyond my expectations." Chapter 9:15. Yi Tianyun looked at this ordinary-looking woman. The appraisal eye clearly displayed the other party's information in front of him. As long as the person's cultivation was not heaven-defying, the appraisal eye could easily identify her. At least her name could be displayed. However, he could see that Nian Xiu had covered her face. This face was definitely not her own. If she had used her own face, she would definitely attract a crowd. He did not expect Nian Xiu to come here. After thinking about it carefully, he immediately knew what was going on. Seeing Nian Xiu bet on him, there was only one possibility. She had specially come here to see him. How could someone who had broken Nian Xiu's records in all aspects not come here to take a look? After the two of them looked at each other, Nian Xiu did not speak to him. She did not say a word and turned to leave. She had seen what she needed to see. There was no need for her to stay here. There was also no need for her to expose her identity in front of Yi Tianyun. She thought that she had not exposed her identity. Little did she know that Yi Tianyun had already seen through her. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He was too lazy to care about her. He turned to look at the group of cultivators who were looking at him in shock. Then he looked at Chen Baihan, who continued to meditate on the ground. Looks like I have to wait for a while. I wonder how long he will last here? Yi Tianyun looked at Dong Feng and the others and asked. Dong Feng and the others were extremely embarrassed. They did not know what to say. Previously, They thought that Yi Tianyun would definitely lose. Now, not only did he win, he won perfectly. Chen Baihan was like a fool now. He sat there and fought. It would be fine if he could obtain the heaven-slaying divine spear in the end. If he did not obtain the heaven-slaying divine spear, it would be embarrassing. One by one, the human clan cultivators looked at Chen Baihan as though they were looking at a fool. He sat there foolishly. He did not know that Yi Tianyun had already succeeded. Chen Baihan probably still thought that Yi Tianyun would definitely lose. He was waiting for Yi Tianyun to call him father. Yi Tianyun had nothing to do. He stayed at the side and meditated. He gestured for the others to continue the test. Everyone didn't know what to say. How could they say the sarcastic words they had said to him before? Where did this kid come from? He actually succeeded. Unbelievable. Is it really that easy to obtain the violent heaven law? It's possible. Let's try it out right now. Next, some people chose to try the violent heaven art, but they soon failed. Not to mention 2 hours, he didn't even need an hour to come out. All of them looked at Yi Tianyun with even more strange expressions. How could he pass such a perverted test? What kind of monster was he? Most importantly, none of them knew who Yi Tianyun was. Why was he so powerful? Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. The light that enveloped Chen Baihan disappeared, which meant that he had finished the test. When it was over, he slowly opened his eyes, revealing a look of unwillingness. Obviously, he didn't succeed and still ended in failure. When he turned his head to look at Yi Tianyun, he found that Yi Tianyun was already sitting at the side. He jumped up and pointed at him while laughing. I already said that you will lose. Hurry up and call me daddy. He shouted so loudly that the people around him looked at him with pitiful eyes. It was an extremely embarrassing thing. But in the end, it still happened. Chen Baihan didn't confirm the situation and shouted these words. It was really embarrassing. Brother Chen, he didn't lose. As his good friend, Dong Feng came over and patted him on the shoulder. Didn't lose? How could he not lose? When I woke up, he was already beside me. That means that I won. Chen Baihan frowned and looked at Yi Tianyun. He said coldly, Kid, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and get over here. Good son, hurry up and call me daddy. Yi Tianyun turned his head and looked at him with a teasing expression. Bastard kid, what nonsense are you talking about? Don't tell me you want to play dumb? Hurry up and get over here. Chen Baihan was furious. Play dumb? You ask them properly and see who's playing dumb. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Brother Chen, he successfully obtained the violent heaven incantation, and it only took him less than 4 hours. Dong Feng couldn't bear it, especially when he saw Chen Baihan shouting and yelling like a mad dog. What? He obtained the violent heaven incantation. This is absolutely impossible. It's impossible for anyone to obtain the violent heaven incantation. Chen Baihan roared in disbelief. For a moment, he couldn't believe such nonsense. Nothing is impossible. Could it be that they didn't choose to help you and instead helped me? Yi Tianyun sneered and said, It's time for you to fulfill your bet. Not only do you have to hand over the item, you also have to kneel down and call me daddy. Chen Baihan's face darkened. He turned his head to look at the others and discovered that their expressions were indeed the same. Their eyes were filled with complicated gazes, and most of them were still in shock. Chen Baihan didn't believe that Yi Tianyun had obtained the violent heaven incantation. The others also didn't believe it, but the reality was right in front of them, and they had no choice but to believe it. What, you want to go back on your word? Yi Tianyun said indifferently, You said you made a bet before, but now? Are you treating your previous words as farts? Chen Baihan already believed it. He didn't believe that the others would stand by Yi Tianyun's side. There was only one possibility, and that was that they had really obtained the violent heaven incantation. But to make him kneel down and call him daddy, this was simply more uncomfortable than letting him die. I just don't believe it. Chen Baihan suddenly thought of something, looked at him and laughed sinisterly. Unless you duel with me and use the violent heaven incantation, I will believe that you have not really obtained the violent heaven incantation. Everyone was startled, and immediately understood what was going on. That was, he wanted to ruthlessly trick Yi Tianyun. After all, even if he had obtained the violent heaven incantation, he had just obtained it, how could he use it freely? The key was that the difference in cultivation was too great, and even with the violent heaven incantation, it would be difficult to make up for the difference in cultivation. How could Dong Feng and the others not know what Chen Baihan was thinking, but they didn't interrupt. They all knew what Chen Baihan was thinking. Perhaps they wouldn't lie about winning or losing, but they wouldn't care about such a sinister thing. Instead, they would support it. They still didn't want the human race to step on their heads, so they would definitely support Chen Baihan. Ignore him, the difference in cultivation is so great, how can we fight? That's right, we all saw it, we can all testify. Or we can let the guardian here come over, he can also testify. Yes. Ignore his provocation, these people are all hypocrites, even after losing, they still act shamelessly. All of the human race were extremely disdainful of them. They couldn't even afford to lose, it was truly disgusting. All of you shut up. Chen Baihan pointed at them and said angrily, I am the one who made the bet, I just want to verify it, is there a problem? Chapter 9:16. A duel to the death. When Yi Tianyun said this, everyone was stunned. A duel to the death was one thing, but a duel to the death? Wasn't this a bit too arrogant? No problem, I agree. Chen Baihan laughed, his eyes full of joy. Then let's establish the duel to the death right now, no regrets. He hurriedly told Yi Tianyun to make the oath, worried that Yi Tianyun would regret it. He didn't want this kind of problem to happen. Right now, he wanted to ruthlessly trample Yi Tianyun under his feet. It was that simple. Don't agree, don't pay attention to his provocation. Immediately, someone came to stop Yi Tianyun, telling him not to be so impulsive. Although Yi Tianyun had passed the test, the meaning was different, and the difficulty of the test was different. Therefore, winning the test didn't mean that he could win. I am willing to accept a duel to the death, regardless of life or death. If I die, I won't hold him responsible. Yi Tianyun made the oath. I am also willing to accept a duel to the death, regardless of life or death. If I die, I won't hold him responsible. Chen Baihan also made the oath, and then a ray of light flew up. After the two rays of light merged together, the oath was officially effective. After making the oath, a huge shield immediately appeared between the two of them, enveloping them inside. A duel to the death could be carried out here. As long as it was in some large halls, it would be allowed. Some people really did have a blood feud, and it was impossible not to take revenge, so this kind of convenience was provided. The others shook their heads, feeling that Yi Tianyun was too blinded by victory. If the protector came to testify, no matter how Chen Baihan tried to deny it, it would be useless. But Yi Tianyun didn't choose to do so, and instead made a duel to the death, which made them feel that it was very unwise. I suspect that Chen Baihan will kill him. After all, the guy who obtained the Heaven Fury art has a boundless future. I think it's more that he doesn't want to kneel down and call him father, right? In order to not want to call him father, he will definitely kill that kid. Right, what a pity, the Heaven Fury art. All of them felt that it was a pity. That was an extremely precious martial art. Obtaining it would be equivalent to soaring to the sky. Who would have thought that it would be a life and death duel? If he really died, it would be a waste. Yi Tianyun didn't pay attention to the gazes around him. He looked at him indifferently and said, You want to feel the violent heaven law, right? That's right, just use it and let me feel the power of the violent heaven scripture. Chen Baihan's eyes turned cold and filled with killing intent. A high-grade god artifact appeared in his hand as he prepared to sacrifice Yi Tianyun. Then you should experience it properly. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. He took a step forward, and with a boom sound, the dragon god's bloodline inside his body instantly erupted. A powerful force burst forth from his legs. With the speed boost from the ancient desolate equipment set, his speed immediately soared. With a xiao sound, he arrived in front of Chen Baihan in the blink of an eye and raised his fist to smash Chen Baihan's chest. The combat power of this punch soared to 26,000 points of astral power. He didn't even need to use any crazy damage mode to achieve such shocking power. Level 1 of the Violent Heaven Scripture, Violent Cloud. Sush. Yi Tianyun's fist created a terrifying tornado that swept towards Qin Baihan. It was accompanied by a terrifying suction force that pulled Qin Baihan up from the ground and sucked him towards the fist. At this moment, the combat power was tripled from the original foundation, reaching 53,000 points of astral power. The Violent Heaven Scripture could burst out 3 times the strength, but that was based on the foundation. It couldn't be built on the data of the ancient desolate equipment set, or it would definitely explode. Boom. Qin Baihan didn't even have time to react before the punch landed on his chest. His entire body was smashed into the ground, and his chest caved in. Qin Baihan spat out a mouthful of blood. The violent punch shattered his ribs. This was under the condition that Yi Tianyun held back, or else his chest would have been pierced through. You can't even take a hit. I just threw a punch and you already fell? Yi Tianyun looked at Qin Baihan coldly. It had just started and it was already over. He was simply too weak. So what if he was a second refinement Earth monarch? Under such a careless situation, he didn't even have the chance to release his strength and was completely crushed by him. Now that his cultivation had broken through, coupled with the addition of high-grade reincarnation rank martial arts, if he were to face General Long Tae, he would still be killed with a single punch. Qin Baihan was slightly stronger than General Long Tae, but he was still killed with a single punch. Dong Feng and the rest were dumbfounded. They had predicted that Yi Tianyun would be beaten up, but now it was Qin Baihan who was being beaten up. A single punch killed Qin Baihan, and it was the Violent Heaven Scripture. The power was incomparably ferocious. I admit defeat. Qin Baihan felt that he couldn't move, and the pain was unbearable. He couldn't even get up if he wanted to. He immediately begged for mercy without any backbone. He didn't want to die at all. You admit defeat? I'm sorry, this is a battle of life and death. There's no such thing as admitting defeat. Yi Tianyun coldly waved his fist, preparing to let Qin Baihan feel the Violent Heaven Scripture again. Father, father! Qin Baihan cried out. Looking at the berserk power in Yi Tianyun's hands, he was so scared that he kept calling for his father. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. I'll call you father. Shut up, I don't have a son like you. Yi Tianyun sneered. His fist didn't stop and continued to smash downwards. Stop right now. At this time, someone outside roared and glared at them. Stop right now. If you have the ability to continue fighting, then try. Father, father. You're finally here. Save me, save me. Boom. Yi Tianyun mercilessly smashed downwards, and Qin Baihan exploded with a single punch. He couldn't be more dead. Under this berserk Violent Heaven Scripture, Qin Baihan was smashed into a bloody mist. Even if he had a heaven-defying divine pill, it wouldn't be able to save him. The man roared. He was scared witless. Ding! Successfully killed Qin Baihan. Reward, 192 billion EXP, 5 million crazy point, 350,000 SBS. Obtained martial art flowing heaven scripture. Cloud spear, middle grade divine tool. Exploding sword, middle grade divine tool. Killing a high-level cultivator is different. Not only does he get a lot of EXP, but he also gets a lot of crazy point. You killed my Han. Do you know what kind of mistake you have made? The man was furious and looked at Yi Tianyun with killing intent. Chapter 9:17. It was Qin Baihan's father. His cultivation was not high, but he was at least a 4th refining Earth Lord. Although he was a 4th refining Earth Lord, there was a huge difference between him and a 2nd refining Earth Lord. After all, a 2nd refinement Earth Monarch would only have 20,000 star power points, while a 4th refinement Earth Monarch would have 40,000 star power points. Their combat power would double. Breaking through to the next level would increase by 10,000 star power. Of course, this was the data on the surface. How much you can really use depends on your own ability. Weapons and martial arts would be of great help. High-grade reincarnation level martial art is a good example. The first move can burst out 3 times the power, One must know that the previous heaven-level martial art can burst out twice the power, let alone 3 times the power. This is especially the first move, the second move is more powerful, and the more ferocious it is. Otherwise, how can it be a high-grade reincarnation-level martial art? The effect in all aspects absolutely crushes other martial arts. Complete side quest, pass the trial of election platform. Complete high difficulty of election platform, reward, 150 billion EXP, 5 million crazy points, 5 million mastery. Suddenly a lot of rewards appeared in his account. Now the task is to gain a lot of experience and proficiency, especially the crazy points. This is the effect of 5 times, plus their cultivation is not low. Killing them is very fast. This is an Earth Lord level, the experience gained from killing them is not small. The one who rushed over and cursed Tianyun is Chen Baihan's father, Chen Li. He also did not dare to fight at will, the rules are the rules, how can he dare to break it? Even a 4th refining Earth Lord would not dare to break the rules at will. If he fights at will, he will be punished, otherwise he would have already done it. Rules. Chen Li looked at the blood mist left on the ground, even the body was blown up, and the things on it were taken away by Tianyun. This made him angry. I want to challenge you, I want to have a life and death duel with you. Although he swore that he will not pursue anything, it is all bullshit. If Chen Baihan's father pursues it, there is no problem at all. These vows are just words, everything depends on what Chen Li does. There is no problem with a normal life and death duel. If it wasn't for revenge, then it was because he found you an eyesore. Was there a problem with that? No problem at all. Chen Li wanted to have a life and death duel with Tianyun, which immediately caused an uproar. This was an Earth Monarch of the 4th refinement, which was in existence on a completely different level from a 2nd refinement Earth Monarch. Wasn't this leap a little too big? Previously, Chen Baihan's loss could be attributed to carelessness. But now, Chen Li had come prepared. He would definitely go all out to kill Tianyun. In this way, he wouldn't be able to casually ambush and kill him. Most people thought that Tianyun had taken advantage of Kuang Tianju, suddenly exploding with a powerful strength, catching him off guard and heavily injuring him, thus winning just like that. Tianyun looked at him and said, "Sure enough, after beating the small one, the big one comes running. Let me ask you, aren't you embarrassed? You've already sworn not to pursue this matter, especially when your cultivation is so much higher than mine. You still have the face to fight me? I'm asking you now, do you accept the duel?" Chen Li did not care about his reputation. He only had one thought in his mind, and that was to avenge his son. Not interested. Tianyun waved his hand and took out Chen Baihan's token. He transferred the contribution points in it over. Suddenly, the contribution points in his token increased by 500 points. There were other treasures in it, but they were not as precious as the 500 contribution points. Not bad, not bad. I still have 500 contribution points. He didn't bother to pay attention to Chen Li. He lifted his feet and walked toward the intermediate platform. Since each platform could only get one thing, he could only go to the intermediate platform. When he passed by Chen Li could only stare at him angrily and did not dare to make a move. "Stop if you're a man," Chen Li said angrily with red eyes. "Of course I'm a man. What's the problem?" Tianyun said indifferently. "Fight me if you're a man," Chen Li said angrily. "What a joke. Our cultivation is so different. Compared to you, my cultivation is equal to that of a boy. Is this fair?" Tianyun sneered and said, "Are you all so disgusting? Do you like to bully the weak with your strength? So what? If you're so capable, don't leave the heavenly mandate divine realm for the rest of your life. If you leave the heavenly mandate divine realm, I will make you die without a burial place." Chen Li dared to say such cruel words in front of so many people, which made everyone shake their heads. Although they couldn't fight here, it was another matter when they left the heavenly mandate divine realm. On the surface, it was forbidden to fight or kill each other, but Chen Li didn't need to do it himself. He could ask others to do it for him. In the divine realm, there were many cruel hunters who could help with these cruel tasks. Tianyun looked at him and smiled happily. I didn't want to bother with you because you lost your son, especially since we swore not to hold each other accountable for the duel. Now it seems that it's all bullshit. Come on, I promised to fight you to the death. He was most annoyed when someone threatened him. Since he did so, there was only one result: death. Okay, let's make a vow. Chen Li immediately made a vow. Yi Tianyun also swore to fight to the death. He was here to give experience anyway, so he was more than happy to fight. Roar! Chen Li roared. The break sky blood in his body burst out, and the word break appeared on his forehead. His fists were full of destructive power, and they exploded. The space around him began to shake because of his break sky power. It was as if the sky was going to be broken by this power. When he released this power, his combat power rushed to 80,000 points of star power, reaching a frightening level. This was the power of the bloodline, which doubled one's combat power. But this wasn't the end. Chen Li quickly took out 2 boxing gloves. He stepped on the ground and threw them at Yi Tianyun. Break God Fist. Chen Li's eyes were full of murderous intent. Low-rank reincarnation level martial arts skills burst out, and his combat power went up another level, reaching 100,000 points of star power. It was no wonder that he had just lost his son. The duel had only just begun, and he was already lowering himself to attack. He didn't want to give Yi Tianyun any chance to react. Chapter 9:18. Just when everyone thought that Yi Tianyun was dead, Chen Li had already arrived in front of Yi Tianyun. The power of heaven destruction shrouded Yi Tianyun and sealed all of Yi Tianyun's escape routes. Yi Tianyun looked up, and his eyes burst with extreme cold light. As expected of a 4th refinement Earth monarch, the explosive power reached 100,000 points of star power, enough to destroy the heaven and earth, smashing down towards Yi Tianyun. Violent Heaven Ju alone wouldn't be able to make up for it. After all, it would be 7 or 8 times the damage. His current base value was only around 7,000 points of star power. With 8 times the damage, it would be around 56,000 points. Compared to 100,000 points of star power, there was still a huge difference. This was the difference in cultivation. High-grade reincarnation level martial arts couldn't make up for it. It wasn't a problem to fight someone of a higher level, but it was already a difference of 3 small levels. Therefore, everyone looked at Yi Tianyun as if he was a dead man. They had never seen someone who could defeat someone of such a higher level. Unless it was a really heaven-defying bloodline, heaven-defying martial arts, or heaven-defying weapons, it was possible to kill someone of such a higher level. Crazy damage mode, activate. His combat power instantly exploded. The original 7,000 points of star power increased by 32 times. 100,000 points of star power. 150,000 points of star power. 200,000 points of star power. 230,000 points of star power. Boom! The horrifying aura forced the fist that was smashing down to stop for a second. An aura of death rushed over, making Chen Li feel as though he was not facing a Star Lord, but a peak Earth Lord. Get lost! Yi Tianyun also met the fist head-on. It could be said that it was a fist against fist. Everyone shook their heads. Wasn't he courting death? Chen Li already had a high-grade god artifact glove, and he used his fist to begin with. Even if he wanted to die, he shouldn't play like this, right? A dong sound rang out. Chen Li was sent flying. There wasn't a situation where Yi Tianyun was punched to the ground, nor was there any fracture. Instead, it was Chen Li who was sent flying. The fist that had collided with Yi Tianyun's fist was blasted into a bloody mist. In an instant, half of his body was gone, almost his entire body was gone. Accompanied by a burst of pain, Chen Li wanted to twist his body in midair and fall down, but it was too late. It was unknown when Yi Tianyun was already in midair. He aimed his foot at Chen Li and stomped down. At the same time, he said coldly, "Go down and have a good talk with your son. I hope that after you reincarnate, you will learn to keep a low profile." Without waiting for Chen Li to reply, the foot had already stomped down. Boom! Chen Li was directly kicked into a bloody mist. He quickly fell from the sky and dyed the ground red. It was as if a rain of blood had just fallen. This was the effect of brute force. There wouldn't be any broken limbs flying all over the place. Instead, he would be directly kicked into a bloody mist and die. Ding! Successfully killed Qin-Li. Reward, 22,500,000,000 crazy points, 6,500. 000 SBS. Obtained Heaven-Breaking Fist, God-Breaking Art. Obtained Heaven-Breaking Glove, High-Grade Divine Tool, Heaven-Breaking Bloodline, 1st Grade. After killing Qin-Li, Heaven-Breaking Bloodline dropped, but Yi Tianyun didn't want to absorb it at all. He wasn't interested in these bloodlines at all. He hated them to begin with, so why would he want to absorb their bloodline? However, this made his eyes light up. If he could kill the so-called top 3 powerhouses and obtain their bloodlines, wouldn't he be able to nurture a powerful godly general? Or he could absorb it and strengthen his bloodline crazily. It's just like Dragon God bloodline, it's a very good choice. However, Dragon God bloodline is indeed going to be eliminated soon. During this period of time, Yi Tianyun learned a lot of information. Among them, Dragon God bloodline is only ranked 13th, which is 1 level higher than Heaven-Breaking bloodline. Yi Tianyun didn't expect that Dragon God bloodline isn't even in the top 10, which is enough to prove that Dragon God bloodline isn't at its strongest state. As for Phoenix bloodline, it's ranked 14th. It's the most heaven-defying bloodline in the 3 realms, but it's not even in the top 10. It can only be said that the competition is too big. After Yi Tianyun landed on the ground, the surroundings were deathly silent. Everyone looked at him in shock. No one expected Yi Tianyun to really kill Qin-Li, and it looked so easy. Dong Feng and the others trembled. They thought back to how they kept mocking Yi Tianyun. Aren't we going to get beaten up? This brat can't be a star venerate. Is he hiding his cultivation? That's not right. I clearly felt that he was a star venerate. Did I sense wrong? Isn't that for sure? Can a star venerate kill a 4th refinement earth venerate? They all thought that Yi Tianyun was hiding his strength, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Otherwise, how could he kill someone of a higher realm? With such a huge gap, it could only mean that he broke through to the earth venerate level to have such strength. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them. He went straight to the middle grade choice platform and chose a medial grade reincarnation level weapon. Right now, Yi Tianyun's strongest weapon is only a superior grade god artifact. He should choose a medial grade reincarnation level weapon to play with. As for martial arts, the violent Heaven Jew is enough. After making his choice, Shao Chen immediately entered the test. The surrounding people exchanged glances. After killing 2 earth venerates, he still calmly went to take the test? All of them tried to guess Yi Tianyun's identity. Since when did such a strong human appear? Logically speaking, it should not be possible. Could he be that human who just joined the core hall? At this moment, someone cried out in surprise. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Then, everyone turned to look at that person. Then, they turned to look at Yi Tianyun. Their gazes were like they had seen a ghost. They had all heard that this was a person who created a new record. Not only did he suppress Nian Xiu in the baptism of the deity domain, but he also suppressed Nian Xiu in terms of carving his name. They did not believe it. After all, they had never seen this person before. They simply did not believe it. After all, they had never seen this person before and simply did not believe it. Now that someone mentioned it, he suddenly remembered such a thing. If it really corresponded to his identity, then they would be in big trouble. Offending such a demonic genius. Furthermore, the disciple of 2 elders was no longer as serious as kicking a metal plate. Instead, it was kicking a samsara-grade defensive tool. Damn it! If that is really the case, if Chen Baihan is still alive, how would he dare to offend him? Dong Feng trembled, feeling boundless fear. Chapter 9:19. All the spectating cultivators were shocked and terrified. They didn't expect that the heaven-defying expert that appeared out of nowhere was the one that broke the record. How could they not be shocked? They didn't believe it at first, but now they all believed it and they had no choice but to believe it. Not only did he set a record, he also easily swept away Mad Heaven's script and killed 2 Earth monarchs, shocking everyone present. What's wrong? Why is it so lively here? At this moment, a familiar face appeared. It was Zhou Ruinjie, who was unhappy with Yi Tianyun. Zhou, senior brother Zhou. When Dong Feng saw Zhou Ruinjie, he hurried over and asked, Senior brother Zhou, is that the new Core Palace disciple that broke the record? Dong Feng pointed to Yi Tianyun on the intermediate platform and wanted to prove Zhou Ruinjie of the Core Hall. At this moment, everyone looked over and wanted to hear what Zhou Ruinjie had to say. After Zhou Ruinjie looked at Yi Tianyun, he said with contempt, That's right, that's him. He broke 2 records and is indeed a new disciple of the Core Palace. Previously he was very arrogant. Who knew that he came here and chose the intermediate difficulty? What a coward! When he saw Yi Tianyun on the intermediate platform, he immediately felt disdain. If he wanted to challenge someone, he should challenge the advanced platform and not the intermediate one. Senior brother Zhou, he actually obtained heaven execution and killed 2 Earth monarchs. One was Qin Baihan and the other was Qin Li. Dong Feng explained the general situation. Zhou Ruinjie was shocked. After he understood the process, he didn't know what to say. He was completely shocked. He didn't expect Yi Tianyun to be so strong. Previously, he thought that his technique wouldn't be very high in the battle. Now it seemed like he was gravely mistaken. Even Qin Li was killed. One had to know that Qin Li was a 4th refinement Earth monarch. His current cultivation was only 2nd refinement Earth monarch. Wouldn't he be killed in an instant? This is impossible. How can the new human cultivator be so strong? Zhou Ruinjie still felt that it was unbelievable and hard to believe this result. Especially since they knew that Yi Tianyun had obtained the Violent Heaven scripture, they all knew how difficult it was to obtain it. This was the most difficult treasure to obtain. Even the Heavenly Mandate Divine Incantation was not as expensive as the Violent Sky Scroll. The Heavenly Mandate skill required 13,000 election tokens, while the Violent Sky skill required 15,000, which was enough to show the gap between the two. It was precisely because he knew that there was a difference between the two that Yi Tianyun chose the Violent Heaven Execution, not because of its effects. If the price of the Heavenly Mandate skill was the most expensive, then he would definitely choose it. He would only choose the most expensive one. That way, the quality-price ratio would be the highest. Yi Tianyun woke up. Immediately, he waved the mid-grade reincarnation level spear in the air and it landed on his palm. After he grabbed the spear, he gently brandished it, and the sound of tearing through the air rang out, as if he could tear space apart at any moment. Celestial God's spear, not bad. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. As expected of a mid-grade reincarnation level weapon, it was much more powerful than a top-grade divine artifact. It was even more amazing when held in his hand. Immediately, he walked down from the election platform and continued to walk to the low-grade election platform, wanting to obtain another low-grade reincarnation level treasure. He would definitely not let go of the low-grade election platform. It was not difficult, and it was another reincarnation level treasure. How could he miss it? With such a high quality price ratio, he only needed 100 contribution points. Right now, he had more than 1,000 contribution points. Those were the contribution points he had obtained after killing Qin Li. He had accumulated more than 1,000 contribution points, which were obtained after he killed Qin Li. Now, everyone was speechless. If he could easily pass the high-level election platform, then the mid-grade election platform would not be a problem. He easily obtained a mid-grade reincarnation-level weapon, and the contribution points were given by Qin Li and the others. Killing and robbing is indeed the easiest way to obtain wealth. Yi Tianyun shook his head. This method was easy to get into trouble, so it was not very desirable. If not for them offending him, Xiao Chen would not have enough contribution points to continue taking the test here. Compared to doing quests by himself, it was much easier. Yi Tianyun glanced at Zhou Ruinjie, who immediately broke out in a cold sweat and took a step back involuntarily. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with Zhou Ruinjie. He raised his foot and walked forward, continuing to meditate on the low-grade election platform. After he chose an inferior-grade reincarnation-level weapon, he started the test. Everyone exchanged glances. It looked like this new human cultivator wanted to clear all the election platforms in one go. This was the first time they had ever seen such a situation. Soon, 1 hour later, Lee Tianyun woke up from his meditation. He easily obtained an inferior-grade reincarnation-level weapon. Not bad. I finally broke through. After clearing this test, Xiao Chen's cultivation finally broke through to peak star venerate. After obtaining the weapon, Lee Tianyun turned and left, leaving behind a group of people staring at each other. It was time to leave. There was no need to stay here any longer. When he was about to leave, a middle-aged man immediately came over and said in a hurry, "Young Master Yi, Elder Yu and the others want you to go to the Heavenly Mandate Planet." Huh? I want to go to the Heavenly Mandate Planet? No problem. Lee Tianyun nodded and gestured for him to lead the way. He knew that he had to go to the Heavenly Mandate Planet. The Heavenly Mandate Planet was the imperial capital of the Heavenly Mandate realm. Under normal circumstances, he could not go there. Unless he had permission, anyone who dared to approach the Heavenly Mandate Planet would be killed. It could be said that the Heavenly Mandate Planet was an absolutely important place. No one could enter at will. This guide should be a deacon of the Heavenly Mandate Planet. His cultivation had reached the level of a forerefining Earthlord. However, he was still respectful in front of Lee Tianyun. Not to mention Lee Tianyun's performance just now, just the fact that he was a disciple of 2 elders was enough to make him respectful. Not to mention other performances, he was just a small deacon. He was just an ordinary errand boy here. This was probably the limit of his life. Under the guidance of the deacon, he followed to the Heavenly Mandate Planet, leaving behind a group of cultivators looking at each other. Then, groups of people began to discuss, pushing Lee Tianyun's reputation to the highest. It was believed that it would not take long for the entire Heavenly Mandate realm to know about Lee Tianyun's deeds. He broke all records with the attitude of an absolute king, and he also passed the election platform 3 times in one go. Most people would not believe it, but some people believed it because they had witnessed it with their own eyes. This could be said to be unparalleled for a while, and no one knew when someone would break this record. It seems that I must not be his enemy. Dong Feng looked at the back of Lee Tianyun as he left. The little bit of jealousy and dissatisfaction in his heart had now turned into fear. Chapter 920. Lee Tianyun quickly followed the deacon to teleport to the Heavenly Mandate Planet. It was very simple to teleport from the selection hall. Basically, every planet had a main teleportation matrix. The teleportation matrix leading to the Heavenly Mandate Planet was naturally included. As long as it was more important, it would lead to the Heavenly Mandate Planet. But in fact, in general, they were all connected. Even if they could not go directly, they could easily reach their destination by changing directions. However, there were still some planets that had not been set up with teleportation matrices. There were still many planets that had not been developed. The divine realm was too big. Even in this enclosed divine realm, there were many areas that had not been explored. Although this place was called the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm, in fact, this area did not seem to be blocked by walls. The people here were not that powerful. They only roughly connected a range together, and only the main places would set up interception areas. So far, it could be said that there was no divine realm that could completely encircle it. At most, they could divide an area. If someone approached the range of this planet, they would be discovered. If the entire divine realm was surrounded, it would be too much effort. Unless it was an extremely powerful existence, it would be impossible to do it. It is indeed an existence of the imperial capital level. When Lee Tianyun arrived at the Heavenly Mandate Planet, he felt that there was a continuous flow of star power coming from all around the Heavenly Mandate Planet, making the star power here almost materialize. With a quick glance, he was surprised to find that there was a huge star stone vein under the ground, like a giant dragon coiling in the ground. They did not mine it, but let the vein continue to provide them with rich star power. Beside the teleportation matrix, there were many spiritual flowers and herbs above the 4th and 5th grade. Almost as far as the eye could see, there were amazing treasures of heaven and earth. Compared to Fan Yu, these could only be regarded as ordinary flowers and plants here for ornamental purposes. Therefore, when they just arrived, they felt like they were bathing in the spring breeze, which really made them feel very comfortable. Token. As soon as they came out, there were immediately guards intercepting them and motioning for them to show their tokens. The deacon took out the token and at the same time, motioned for Yi Tianyun to show his token. Yi Tianyun took out the token and handed it over for them to check. The guards here were all at the second refinement Earth Monarch realm. One couldn't help but admit that their spending was truly shocking. Well, you can go in now. After the two of them checked, they immediately let him go. No matter who it was, they had to show their token. Of course, this was not absolute. The region master and the elders definitely did not need to show their tokens. As for the other chiefs, all of them had to show their tokens without exception. Such a strict rule was mainly to prevent impersonation. Disguises and whatnot were not a problem these days. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so strict. After one's cultivation became stronger, it wasn't a big problem to disguise one's appearance. Some could even pass off as genuine. Although the token could not prevent people from being fake, it could still identify many things. After that, the attendant continued to lead him inside. When they walked into the main hall, it was incomparably luxurious. Star stones were used as decorations everywhere. However, this place was rather deserted. At most, there were guards patrolling the road. As for other cultivators, they would not stay here. Most of the people who stayed here were guards or maids. There were also some elders and palace masters. With so many halls, there would definitely be a hall master. The status of the hall master was similar to that of the elders, but everything was decided by the elders. This was not contradictory. There were only a few elders, but there were many hall masters. A planet basically had more than one or two hall masters, but there were only a few elders. Therefore, such a huge heavenly mandate divine planet would certainly not have many people coming in. Unless they were summoned, even the core disciples could not come in at will. It could even be said that the level of attendant could not come in at will. Along the way, there was no explanation at all, and there was nothing to be said. The attendant in front of him was simply leading the way. His face was full of respect, and he did not dare to show any disrespect. Just by staying here, he was already full of respect for this place. Under the guidance of the attendant, after passing through several corridors and halls, they finally came in front of a special passage. In front of this passage, there were two fourth refinement Earth Lords guarding. Their level was obviously higher than in other places. This is the young Master Yi that elder you wanted to bring, the attendant hurriedly introduced to the two guards. The two guards looked up and down at Yi Tianyun, and one of them said in a deep voice, "Token." Two simple words, concise and powerful, and full of majesty. Yi Tianyun also took out the token. After checking it, they nodded and said, "Go in." After Yi Tianyun took back the token, the attendant next to him said respectfully to him, "Young Master Yi, you can go in by yourself. There is nothing for me to do inside." Yi Tianyun nodded, knowing that he was just leading the way. Of course, he was not qualified to go in. Immediately, the guards made way for him and signaled him to go inside. Yi Tianyun didn't even think about it, he just walked inside. As soon as he stepped into this passage, he saw many profound divine glyphs around him, which could launch a fatal attack at any time. It had to be said that this place was too cautious. Yi Tianyun suspected that the region lord had been assassinated. Otherwise, why would they be so cautious? Not only were there many guards along the way, but there were also layers of checks. This place was even more stringent. If the other party attacked, he would definitely be killed here. Of course, Yi Tianyun had a way to escape from here. He could easily teleport away from here. After passing through the long passage, when he finally stepped out of the passage, his eyes suddenly opened up. The first thing that came into view was the middle-aged man sitting on the throne at the front. He clenched his right fist lightly and supported his chin with his hand as he looked over. As soon as he walked out, everyone around him locked their eyes on him. Yi Tianyun found that apart from the two elders, even Nian Ciyu was here. Of course, there was also Guyurong. They were all summoned here. Lee Tianyun raised his eyes and looked at the Region Lord in front of him. The appraisal I presented the Region Lord's general information in front of him. Heavenly Mandate Region Lord, Lord of Heaven. Cultivation at the peak. Has the Heavenly Mandate Divine Power. Also has the Heavenly Feather Bloodline. Rank 10th. Martial Arts Skills. Heavenly Mandate Divine Technique, Crazy Sky Technique, Heavenly Mandate Overlord Body. Weakness, none. Comprehensive Evaluation, 1. 2 million star power. 1. 2 million star power. Lee Tianyun's eyes flashed. As expected of a Region Lord. His combat power was insane. This was under normal circumstances. If he erupted, it would definitely be fatal. Chapter 9:21. Greetings, Region Lord. Lee Tianyun respectfully greeted the Heavenly Mandate Region Lord. As the strongest leader of the Heavenly Mandate region, he had to show some respect. If the Region Lord was not happy with him, he could slap him, and he would be smashed into a bloody mist. Well, you are Lee Tianyun? The Region Lord looked him up and down. Yes, I am, Lee Tianyun said honestly. Not bad, not bad. You are so talented at such a young age. It is really amazing. The Region Lord looked at him and said with a smile, I just received the news that you not only obtained the Heaven's Fury, but also broke 3 election platforms in a row and killed an Earth Lord of the 4th Refinement. I have to say, you are a troublemaker. The content seemed to be criticizing someone, but from his tone, he seemed to be a little happy. The others looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. The Heaven's Fury broke 3 election platforms and killed an Earth Lord of the 4th Refinement. It was really shocking. They didn't know about this. Of course, the latest news was only known by the Region Lord, including the elders. When Yu Yanglong and the others learned that their disciple was so amazing, they were all stunned. They looked at Lee Tianyun and said in shock, Tianyun, aren't you only at the 7th or 8th level of the Star Lord level? How could you kill an Earth Lord of the 4th Refinement? Yu Yanglong couldn't help but ask. This was too amazing. Not only could he fight someone of the same level, but he could also fight someone of a higher level. This was someone of a higher level. How could they not be shocked? It was mostly because they underestimated me. That's why I succeeded so easily, Lee Tianyun said modestly. Underestimate the enemy. No matter how you underestimate the enemy, you can still react when there is such a huge difference in cultivation. However, your cultivation is not at the 7th or 8th level of the Star Lord level, but at the peak of the Star Lord level. Even so, there is still a big difference in cultivation. It seems that your ability is amazing. It's really hard to believe that he came from the ordinary realm. The Region Lord analyzed Lee Tianyun's situation and felt that he was a miraculous existence, which was shocking. The peak of the Star Lord level? They were shocked. Could it be that Lee Tianyun had concealed his cultivation? When they looked carefully, they discovered that he was really a peak Star Venerate. Earlier, he was clearly a 7th or 8th layer Star Venerate. How did he suddenly become a peak Star Venerate? At most, the elders could only think that it was an error in judgment. They didn't think that Lee Tianyun could jump 2 levels in such a short period of time. That would be too terrifying. How long had it been? Not even a week had passed, yet he had already reached this level. It was truly unbelievable. My lord, I did come up from Fanyu, and I even passed the baptism of the god territory. This cannot be faked, Lee Tianyun said with a faint smile. Many people could testify to this. If he was born in the divine domain, he wouldn't have been baptized in the divine domain. He had been baptized by the god's territory when he was born. If he were to be born again, there would definitely be no such thing. I don't doubt you. I just find it unbelievable. It seemed that there were still some super geniuses in Fanyu. For example, Elder Nian is an example. The Region Lord looked at the beautiful girl next to him. She was Nian Xiu. Nian Xiu looked over with a smile. She was completely different from her previous ordinary appearance. She was beautiful, and her surface was emitting a faint light. The light was holy, and she didn't look ordinary at all. She looked like a fairy. At such a young age, she could become an elder. She might even be the next region lord. Who would have thought that Nian Xiu also came from Fanyu? However, her race was not the human clan, but the more powerful heavenly feather bloodline. To put it bluntly, she was actually from the same race as the region lord. She had the ability to go against the natural order. But what about Yi Tianyun? He was from the human clan. This was something that they couldn't believe. No matter what, this was a normal discussion. When the two elders told me about this, I didn't quite believe it. He broke Elder Nian's record as soon as he arrived. I believe Elder Nian is not convinced, right? The region lord smiled. There is nothing to be upset about. It is definitely a good thing to see a genius from the heavenly mandate divine realm join us. Nian Xiu smiled. She didn't seem to have a problem at all. Yi Tianyun smiled in his heart. This girl didn't want to tell the truth. She had even secretly checked on him. It was impossible to say that she didn't have any pride. Especially when she saw how far away she was from the second place, he knew that she was not that simple. Elder Nian is really broad-minded. The region lord smiled. He looked at him and said, "Let's make a long story short. Have you heard of the divine realm battle to the heavens?" The divine realm battle to the heavens? I have heard of it, Yi Tianyun said truthfully. He had learned about it before. In fact, most of the first-grade god realms would select most of the elites to participate in a great battle. The second-grade god realms would host the battle, and the best elites would be selected to join their second-grade god realms. In fact, it was a battle to select new disciples to select the best disciples. This could be called the 100 Territories battle. The reason why such a battle was held was to select the best disciples. Most of the first-grade god realms outside were Fanyu cultivators. They would only select a few strong cultivators to add fresh blood. As for the second-grade god realms and above, they were mostly born in the god realms. They were born in a different environment. Naturally, they were a lot stronger than the outside world. Whether it was talent or cultivation, they were amazing. He had seen it in the records. Reaching the Spirit King stage or above at birth in the God realms was still a relatively low level. Some were directly at the Saint King stage. What was there to compete with? The first-grade God realms were indeed first-grade God realms. They were specially designed to provide fresh blood for the second-grade God realms. If they provided good disciples, the second-grade God realms would definitely give them a lot of rewards. Otherwise, the first-grade God realms would not be so enthusiastic. It's good that you understand. Your two masters should have told you this. There are about 5 years left before the divine realm battle to the heavens. Time is actually quite tight. There are many candidates now, and the two of you are the biggest highlights. The heavenly mandate domain lord narrowed his eyes at Yi Tianyun and Guyurong. The appearance of the two of you has given us some hope. With 2 demonic fires, the odds of winning are higher. Therefore, we have focused on the two of you. In addition to the personal guidance of the 2 elders, Elder Nian will also help the 2 of you. She will help the 2 of you to quickly break through to the Earth Monarch realm. If your cultivation has not reached the Earth Monarch realm, you will not be able to participate in the divine realm battle to the heavens. Chapter 9:22. Yi Tianyun was quite excited about the divine domain's ascension battle. Not only did it mean that he could enter a stronger divine domain, but he could also earn a lot of experience. Because the ascension battle in the divine domain was basically a fight to the death. There were so many earth monarchs flying around in front of him. To him, it was like a fat sheep flying around in front of him. Killing them would be a delicious meal. Other than a life and death duel, one could not kill people at will, which meant that there were restrictions on leveling up. He wanted to break through quickly so that his cultivation could break through. After all, the evil spirit race would definitely send people to attack the 3 realms. If his cultivation did not break through, he would not be able to stop them. When he was frantically searching the records of the other divine domains, he did not find the evil spirit race's territory. He only knew that the evil spirit race did all kinds of evil and was the type that everyone in the divine domain wanted to beat up. They basically regarded the evil spirit race as a foreign race. an existence on the same level as those demonic beasts outside. They could be killed on sight. According to the information that Yi Tianyun had interrogated previously, the evil spirit race's territory was not in the divine domain, but in the Fan Yu outside. However, this Fan Yu had the energy of the divine domain, which was very strange. As it was very remote, the cultivators of the divine domain would not cause any conflict with them. The evil spirit race was despicable, but as long as they did not provoke the divine domain, no one would care about the evil spirit race. In addition, Yi Tianyun also found out that the evil spirit race's overall strength had reached the level of a second-grade divine domain and was about to step into the third-grade divine domain. It was enough to show how terrifying the evil spirit race's power was. Although they were very powerful, they would not deal with any forces and would send a large number of experts over. After all, the three realms was only one of their goals, and not an absolutely important one. This time, it was difficult to take down the three realms, so they would definitely not take this lying down. When the time came, they would send even stronger forces to attack. For this reason, Yi Tianyun felt that the divine domain's ascension battle was a very good opportunity, an opportunity to greatly improve himself. The minimum requirement to participate in the ascension battle was the Earth Monarch level, so one could imagine how much experience he could obtain. It was possible to rush to the Earth Monarch level after participating. This junior will work hard to break through to the Earth Monarch realm. Yi Tianyun felt that this wasn't a big problem. It might be difficult for others to break through to the Earth Monarch realm, but it wasn't a problem for him. In short, it was a matter of experience. I will also work hard to break through to the Earthly Monarch realm, Gu Yurong said in a firm tone. Both of them had high hopes placed on them. She would definitely not let them down. Her cultivation was not weak either, having reached the 7th layer Star Venerate. This level was considered pretty good. If it was in the past, it wouldn't have been easy to break through to the Earth Monarch level in 5 years. Now that they were receiving intensive nurturing, the effects would definitely be different. It wouldn't be a problem for them to break through to the Earth Monarch realm within 5 days. As for how many Earth Refinement Monarchs they could break through to, that would depend on their own abilities. Very good. It's good that you have this confidence. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord gave them a few words and then asked them to stay aside and listen to the rest of the content. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord had not convened this meeting just for the two of them. There were still many things to discuss. However, they had already discussed about 70 or 80% of it, so the meeting was quickly dismissed. Good boy, I originally gave you 2 election tokens so that you could obtain a weapon on the primary election platform. Who would have thought that you would directly choose the high difficulty? You really have a lot of guts. Yu Yanglong scolded with a smile, his eyes full of surprise. The more powerful his disciple was, the more radiant he was. This is beyond my expectations. I thought that you might not be able to participate in this God Realm ascending battle. Now it seems that as long as you work harder, you can easily reach the standard. Ming Yueqing looked at the 2 disciples and said, "The Region Lord has already said that we should vigorously nurture you too. Accordingly, you must bring out the most serious attitude." This disciple understands. Yi Tianyun and Gu Yurong both nodded. They knew that they had to be serious about everything. Then let's start making a cultivation plan. How do you usually cultivate? Ming Yueqing asked. I just cultivate in seclusion and comprehend some things to break through. Gu Yurong replied. I need to constantly fight or slaughter in order to break through. Tianyun smiled and said, so if I make a plan, then please arrange for me to kill monster beasts and fight a bloody battle amongst them. They couldn't help but look at Yi Tianyun. Wasn't this the same as walking the path of actual combat or the path of slaughter? This kind of hostility was very serious. A little carelessness could easily lead to cultivation deviation. After all, killing too many monster beasts would cause the slaughter chi to be too serious, which could easily affect their minds. However, it was indeed easy to improve one's cultivation. After going through a battle of slaughter, not only would it increase one's combat experience, but it could also improve one's cultivation. Especially after going through extreme battles, one's cultivation would increase the fastest and the most stable. No wonder your cultivation is so amazing. The slaughter Tao is indeed easy to improve one's cultivation, but at the same time, you must guard your Tao heart and not fall into cultivation deviation. Yu Yanglong reminded. This disciple will bear this in mind. Yi Tianyun nodded. Little did they know that this was the experience he gained from killing, so his hostility was not that heavy. It was also not because he wanted to comprehend the slaughter Tao. That's good. This way, we have a specific plan. Yurong will continue to comprehend the slaughter Tao and participate in battles when appropriate. At the same time, we will give you elixirs to help you cultivate. Yu Yanglong looked at Yi Tianyun and said in a deep voice, As for your slaughter Tao, let me think if there is anything suitable for you, let me bring him there. At this moment, Nian Xiu walked over with graceful steps and smiled at Yi Tianyun. She said, I have some understanding in this area. If the two elders don't worry, you can leave him to me. Why would I worry about Elder Nian? Since Elder Nian said so, Tianyun, you should follow Elder Nian. She will definitely teach you well. Yu Yanglong and the others immediately nodded in agreement. Nian Xiu not only had a strong cultivation, but she was also very talented. Naturally, she had her own cultivation method. Thus, the two of them didn't have any objections and allowed Nian Xiu to teach Yi Tianyun. No problem. Then I will leave it to Elder Nian. Yi Tianyun looked at Nian Xiu and saw a mischievous look in the depth of her eyes. It was as though she was calculating something. This woman wouldn't be scheming against me, right? Chapter 923. When Nian Xiu took the initiative to ask to train Yi Tianyun, Yu Yanglong and the others immediately let Nian Xiu take Yi Tianyun away. They did not ask what the plan was at all. It could only be said that Nian Xiu's status was higher than theirs, so they did not have the right to ask. This was just like when the Heavenly Mandate Region Master gave an order, whoever dared to ask carefully would directly carry out the order. If they had any doubts, they did not have the right to do so. Although they were elders, many things were decided by the Heavenly Mandate Region Master. Most of the elders were just giving opinions, not asking for orders. Nian Xiu took Yi Tianyun and directly left the Heavenly Mandate Divine Planet. She casually threw a Samsara-level spirit ship in the air. After taking him on the spirit ship, they directly flew to the side. Elder Nian, where are we going? Yi Tianyun asked. There were only him and Nian Xiu in the spirit ship. Nian Xiu alone controlled the spirit ship. Its speed became faster and faster. It was much faster than when he controlled it before. It seemed that Nian Xiu still had a lot of strength left. She probably only released a small part of her strength and did not use all her strength. As expected, if one's cultivation was high, not only would it not be a problem to control it alone, but they could also fly away at an even more shocking speed. You will know when the time comes. Nian Xiu did not say it out loud. Instead, she kept Yi Tianyun in suspense and let him guess. This. Yi Tianyun felt a little speechless, but he could only obediently meditate at the side and see where Nian Xiu wanted to take him. Then, Nian Xiu sped up. The spirit ship immediately turned into a beam of light and rushed forward. Yi Tianyun, who was sitting inside, felt his whole body shake. It was as if he was preparing to travel through time and space. He whistled forward. This speed was too shocking. Compared to when he controlled the spirit ship with all his strength, it was dozens of times faster. According to this speed, it would not take many days for them to easily return to the three realms. It was too terrifying. According to this thinking, if the evil spirit race sent a Lord of Heaven to kill their way over, wouldn't they arrive in a few days? But would they send a Lord of Heaven level? Isn't this like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife? However, if they really sent out the Lord of Heaven, the three realms would not be able to withstand it. At the very least, with his current level, he was incapable of killing the Lord of Heaven. The difference between the two of them was too great. Under such circumstances, they continued to fly at high speed for an unknown period of time. Nian Xiu suddenly said, "The preparations are almost here. Are you ready?" Yi Tianyun woke up from his meditation. He roughly estimated the time and found that they had flown for 3 days. With such a terrifying speed, they would probably reach the three realms soon, right? At this time, he looked through the spirit ship and saw that it was pitch black outside. There was only a huge planet in the distance. It was much bigger than the planets they had seen before. At the same time, there were many spirit ships flying towards the planet, a considerable number of them. Xiao Chen casually probed the incoming spirit ships and discovered that there were many experts on them. Most of them were star venerates. There were also powerhouses from the Lord of Heaven inside. Basically, every spirit ship had a Lord of Heaven guarding it. Their cultivations varied. The only thing they had in common was that they all brought a large number of star venerates with them. Only Nian Ci brought him alone. What's going on? It seems like the planet in front is a little strange. Yi Tianyun had a bad feeling. He felt that the place Nian Ci was bringing him to was absolutely terrifying. With so many spirit ships from different divine domains flying towards this planet, it was hard not to feel terrifying. After all, with so many powerhouses gathered here, something was definitely going to happen. Put this on. Nian Ci threw a mask over and indicated for Yi Tianyun to put it on. Yi Tianyun looked at this mask. The workmanship was astonishing, and it was an inferior grade samsara grade treasure. It was much better than the 100 transformation mask he had before. After he put on this mask, his entire person became very ordinary. If he was thrown into a crowd, he would not be able to distinguish himself. His appearance was too ordinary. Even his aura and cultivation were covered up. Nian Ci's appearance was the same. She looked like that ordinary girl he saw before. The mask's appearance was fixed and wouldn't change. She could only wear this mask. Do you feel that I am very familiar? Nian Ciu smiled. Cough, cough, very familiar. I saw you at the decision platform before. I didn't expect you to be Elder Nian. Yi Tianyun felt helpless in his heart. He had to pretend to be surprised, but he didn't know that Nian Ciu had already seen through him. Of course, it is me. I heard that a super genius appeared and even broke many of my records. Nian Ciu looked at Yi Tianyun and smiled faintly. I want to see who it is. I didn't expect it to be a human. This is out of my expectations. However, those are the records of the past. You can break them however you want. Anyway, I don't care at all. Yi Tianyun's heart sank. He didn't believe these words. Instead, he knew that Nian Ciu was very headstrong. The more she said she didn't care, the more she would care. As long as Elder Nian doesn't care about this. I was thinking too much before. If I offended Elder Nian, then I would be in trouble. Yi Tianyun smiled. The moment he said that, Nian Ciu looked at him indifferently and said, However, there is one thing that I am not too happy about. I heard that you purposely carved your name 1 inch higher than mine. Yi Tianyun immediately broke out in a cold sweat. As expected, saying that he didn't hold a grudge was bullshit. Even if it was the previous record, if it was broken, he would definitely be a little unhappy. I just reached my limit. I didn't do it on purpose. Yi Tianyun smiled embarrassedly. Whether or not you did it on purpose is another matter. I can see that you are quite capable. You are also very high profile. Nian Ciu looked at him and smiled. Yi Tianyun felt a chill down his spine. Later on, I hope that you can be as high profile as possible. Do you understand? The higher the better. Yi Tianyun was confused. Yes, be as high profile as you can. If I find out that you purposely went easy on me, I'll make you pay. Nian Ciu even waved her small fist and snorted coldly. Or, if you don't perform well enough, watch how I punish you. Could it be that Elder Nian had some trauma here before? Yi Tianyun asked carefully. What did you say? Who are you saying has trauma? Nian Ciu glared at him. Her expression changed quickly. Even if she was wearing a mask, her embarrassed and angry expression could still be seen. Cough, cough. I'm very sorry. I said it carelessly. I hope Elder Nian doesn't take offense. Yi Tianyun looked at her and smiled as he apologized. Chapter 924. Nian Ciu looked at him angrily. Then, she seemed to have thought of something and coughed softly, trying to calm down her embarrassed expression. Ahem, anyway, you have to be more high profile. This is not our territory anyway. You can do whatever you want, Nian Xiu said calmly. Similarly, this place is full of danger. Since you can fight at will, it is very likely that you will die here. This place is a purgatory, a complete purgatory. She began to become serious, and coldness flashed through her eyes. She no longer looked like she was joking. This is no longer within the boundaries of the heavenly mandate divine realm? Yi Tianyun nodded. He knew what to do. Generally speaking, in the interlayers of the divine realms, there is no place managed by anyone. It can be said to be a chaotic place, Nian Xiu explained. So, Elder Nian, you also came here to train? Yi Tianyun asked. Yes, but very few people know about this. This isn't a place where just anyone can come. Nian Xiu looked at the planet in the distance. There was no nostalgia in her eyes, only murderous intent. Coming here means death. Not everyone is willing to bring their disciples here. If you can stand firm here, you will definitely have a place in the battle to heaven in the divine realm. Speaking of the battle to heaven in the divine realm, Elder Nian did not participate? Yi Tianyun was very puzzled. With her talent, she could at least make it to the top 100, even if not the top 10. Only 100 of them would be selected as disciples and pulled into the camp. There were so many first-grade divine realms, and the number of disciples sent was more than a few hundred or 1,000. Who knew how many tens of thousands of people were added up? Only 100 people were selected from tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people. It was enough to show how cruel it was. I did not participate. I have no interest in this. Nian Xiu shook her head. It seemed that she did not want to continue this topic. There was no regret in her eyes. Instead, it was filled with determination. Yi Tianyun did not ask further. Instead, he had a few more guesses in his heart, but he did not say it out loud. Some things could only be guessed in his heart, and he did not dare to say it out casually. Anyway, it doesn't matter as long as CIU doesn't have any evil intentions towards me. This is called the Divine Slaughter Star. I don't know who built a special divine tower inside, but it's filled with brutal killing intent. If you cultivate inside, it will have an astonishing effect on the Tao of Slaughter. But at the same time, there are many cultivators who have been possessed by the killing intent. Kill them and you will obtain even more killing intent. The more killing intent you accumulate in this special divine pagoda, the more recognition you will receive from the divine pagoda. Your mission is very simple. You must obtain the recognition of the death god. Nian Xiu looked at him with a burning gaze, her eyes filled with anticipation. Killing god's recognition? Yi Tianyun asked curiously, could this be called the killing god pagoda? That's right, it is the god-slaying pagoda. After going through a frenzied killing spree or absorbing enough killing intent, you will be recognized. Nian Xiu said, up until now, only 8 people have been recognized, but we don't know what their real names are, and we don't even know who they are. They all changed their appearances and put on masks like us. No one knows who the other is, and killing randomly like this will not bring trouble to themselves. Elder Nian, you didn't get it? Yi Tianyun asked doubtfully. I didn't get it, but I still benefited a lot from it. Therefore, I hope that you can be recognized. This will greatly increase your strength, and you will be able to enter the forefront of the battle to the heavens in the divine realm. She was still talking about the battle to the heavens in the divine realm. Everything was for this battle. It was obvious that Nian Xiu really attached great importance to this battle. Perhaps it was more to fight for more benefits for the heavenly mandate divine realm. As for why she didn't participate, Yi Tianyun could easily guess that it had something to do with the heavenly mandate divine realm. It was very likely that she was the next heir, and that was why she chose not to participate. If she participated, it was very likely that she would be chosen. If she was chosen, she couldn't refuse. Otherwise, it would be equivalent to fooling around, and the consequences would be quite serious. Thinking about it carefully, the bloodline of Nian Xiu and the Heavenly Mandate Region Lord were both from the Heavenly Feather Clan. It was normal for her to be chosen as the next heir, so she couldn't leave. Okay, I will try. Lee Tianyun nodded. He could only say that he would try his best. Who could guarantee everything? After explaining the general matters, Nyen Ciu continued to control the spirit ship and drove it inside. After all, these things must be explained clearly. Otherwise, when Lee Tianyun went in, Nyen Ciu wouldn't be able to explain clearly. They couldn't expect the people inside to explain, could they? The other party would directly attack, and there was no need to talk nonsense. After driving in, Nyen Ciu quickly put away the spirit ship. The others did the same, putting away their spirit ships one after another. Lee Tianyun turned his head and looked around. After putting away the spirit ship, he looked around vigilantly. Because they were all from different divine realms, they weren't friends, so they had to be vigilant. Killing it will here wouldn't be punished. At this time, Lee Tianyun knew why they sent the Lord of Heaven over. If their cultivation was too weak, the other party might kill them if they found them displeasing to the eye. If that happened, they might be completely annihilated. After all, if they wore a mask and crazily killed their own people, would they let them leave so easily? Let's go, there's no need to pay attention to them. Nyen Ciu led him forward. The Lord of Heaven's aura was released without any concealment, so that the others could see their strength. Only 2 people came? Could it be some hidden family that brought a genius disciple here to gain experience? That's possible. In short, it's a female Lord of Heaven. She isn't someone to be trifled with. They glanced over and didn't care. They didn't want to care about this matter, especially when the other party had the Lord of Heaven. Lee Tianyun turned his gaze to the front. There was a tall pagoda in front of them. However, this pagoda wasn't very tall. It was much weaker than the ancient Ming God pagoda. Of course, in terms of quality, it was superior to the ancient Ming God pagoda. It was a high-grade reincarnation grade treasure. A high-grade reincarnation grade treasure. Everyone wanted to take it away, but they couldn't. It just stood there, allowing others to enter. Nyen Ciu led him into the god-killing pagoda. Just as he entered, he felt a shocking killing intent pressing down on him from above. He felt his heart being suppressed, and it even made him feel a little excited. It was the excitement of killing. In front of him was an incomparably huge array. Looking at it from the outside, he could see many cultivators twisting and turning. Their eyes were bloodshot as if they were possessed. These were the typical cases of cultivation deviation. When they saw the cultivators that had just entered, they would immediately rush up and attack them. As for their own kind that had gone berserk, they didn't care about them. It was as if they were being controlled, and they would only attack the cultivators that came from outside. This is the god-killing pagoda? Chapter 9:25. From the outside, the Killing God Tower did not look very big. However, after entering, there was a universe inside and it was much more spacious than the outside. However, this Killing God Tower looked like it only had 1 floor. There was nothing on it. One could see the ceiling directly. There were no stairs in the surroundings. The first floor ended immediately. The only difference was that there was a huge Killing God formation in front. It did not look any different from the outside. However, after they entered, they started fighting with the cultivators who had entered Berserk Chi Deviation. The difference was that after they entered and killed the cultivators who entered Berserk Chi Deviation, a red energy would come out of their bodies and enter their bodies. After the red energy entered, some of them would have an additional trace of red in their eyes. Their entire bodies would change, and their killing intent would become even more startling. The people outside could clearly feel a startling killing intent coming from inside. It basically enveloped the entire area. If cultivators with weaker cultivation stayed here, they would immediately lose their minds from the killing intent. After that, they would enter Berserk Chi Deviation and become one of them. It truly lives up to being the Killing God Tower. The killing intent is simply too strong. Lee Tianyun felt very shocked. If he could temper himself inside, he would definitely possess the surging killing intent inside. Killing intent had an excellent support effect in battle. After it burst out, it would definitely affect the opponent's attack. Some would be frightened out of their wits by the killing intent and win without a fight. Xiao Chen looked up at the sky and discovered 8 names carved on the wall beside him. These 8 names should be the cultivators who obtained the recognition of the killing god. However, these names were just code names like Tian Sha, Yu Long, and so on. They were not real names. There was no restriction on using one's real name here. As long as one reported their name, it would be carved on the wall. However, after so many years, only 8 people could leave their names here. There were many cultivators in front of Xiao Chen. There were at least 100 people on the killing god formation. Who knew how many batches of people there were? After some died, they were quickly swallowed by the ground, not even leaving a corpse behind. Unless one specially went in to kill someone and brought them out, they would be swallowed by this killing god formation until nothing was left. Only star venerates could enter this killing god formation. Those above this level could not enter. Hence, aside from star venerates, the rest were waiting below. Their appearance was especially conspicuous. The main reason was that everyone else had brought a group of people with them. There were only 2 of them. In this place, it could be said that unity was the only way to obtain more benefits. If one went up and was immediately kicked down, or couldn't hold on for long, or even died, then it was not worth it. With more people up there, it would undoubtedly be much safer. The group of people huddled together and began to meditate and cultivate. The effects were extremely shocking. The true meaning of the killing god formation was to allow people to cultivate inside and absorb a large amount of killing energy to cultivate. However, there were some people who could not hold on for too long. They went berserk and were controlled by this god-killing formation. There are only 2 people over there. Aren't they courting death? Maybe he's just so confident that he alone is enough to stand firm up there. If I go up there, I will probably become a puppet. All of them looked at them mockingly, thinking that Tianyun and the others were courting death. If they went up, they would only become the puppets of the god-slaying array. Without anyone protecting him, how could he not be instantly killed? The strongest here was a star venerate at best. To them, could they soar into the sky? Nian Xiu ignored the surrounding discussions. She said, "Since you are alone up there, you have to pay more attention to your safety. However, you have 3 chances. If you can't hold on, you can retreat. Once you exceed 3 chances, you will not be able to go up." There are still 3 chances? Tianyun had thought that there would be only 1 chance. Unexpectedly, there were 3 chances. Then he smiled and said, "Actually, I feel that 1 chance is enough." Xiao Chen was that confident. With one glance, there were indeed many crazy star venerates. However, how could he be an ordinary expert? One crazy mode was enough to sweep through everyone. "I told you to be high profile, not to boast in front of me." Nian Xiu stretched out her hand and knocked Xiao Chen's head. She said angrily, "Pay attention to your safety later. Do you understand? Your own safety is the priority. If you can't hold on, quickly retreat. Don't force yourself." "Elder Nian, didn't you want me to be high profile? If I retreat like this, won't I not be able to complete that mission?" Yun touched the place where he was knocked. "Your life is the most important. I just hope that you can do it. I'm not asking you to throw your life away." Nian Xiu looked at him and reminded him, "In any case, everything depends on your luck. Originally, I wanted to pull that Gu Yurong over here. However, this place requires mental energy. If her mental energy is too weak, she will not be able to endure it. She needs to be at least 30 meters before I bring her over." 30 meters and above. Tianyun looked around. These clearly did not reach 30 meters. Naturally, this 30 meters referred to the wall with the words carved on it. However, Nian Xiu strived for perfection. She would either stay longer or not. Right? She needs to be at least 30 meters and above. If she is too weak, she will not be able to last long. The effects will not be obvious. Nian Xiu said, "It's about time. Go up. How much you can obtain will depend on your luck." "That's right, back then, I also went up alone." Nian Xiu's last sentence stunned Tianyun. It seemed that Nian Xiu had also encountered this life and death crisis. Immediately, Lee Tianyun smiled and jumped towards the killing god array. Just as he stepped into the killing god array, the surrounding killing aura quickly surged into his body. At this moment, he could see with his naked eye that his surroundings were enveloped by a thick layer of red energy. This was all materialized killing aura. It was just that he could not see it from the outside. Here, he could see the killing aura very clearly. He did not need to specially absorb it. It would crazily drill into his body. After a short while, he immediately felt a strong killing aura surging into his head. Looking at the cultivator in front of him, he felt more annoyed and angry. However, he suppressed the killing aura gently. He did not feel any pressure at all. If he felt pressure at the beginning, he would not be able to stay for much longer. After continuously absorbing the killing aura into his body started to condense a faint red energy ball. The more he absorbed, the bigger it became. Chapter 9:26. This kid really went up alone. I dare say that he won't last more than a quarter of an hour. Isn't a quarter of an hour too short? To be able to go up alone, he must have some ability. I think at most half an hour. Half an hour is enough. He will be attacked continuously. No matter how strong he is, he won't be able to withstand it. I don't know what they are thinking. But occasionally, there will be fools who do this. Didn't someone do this before? In the blink of an eye, he was beaten into a sieve. He couldn't be more dead. That's right. The face of the Lord of Heaven who brought people here was black. I guess the disciple that he painstakingly trained died just like that. Have you rested enough? It's almost time to go up. The Lord of Heaven waited for them solemnly, indicating that they should hurry up and go up once they had rested enough. Anyway, they had 3 chances. When they couldn't hold on any longer, they could come down and have a good rest. When they had rested enough, they could go up again to hone their combat experience and absorb the murderous aura. The others only discussed a little about Lee Tianyun and didn't bother to pay attention to anything else. After all, if someone was courting death, they couldn't be bothered to care. After all, they didn't enter the god-slaying matrix to kill crazily. It was good enough to meditate peacefully. But things weren't that simple. From time to time, there would be people suffering from chi deviation. It could be the people on the other side or their companions. You must become stronger and get a good result in the divine realm battle to heaven, so that Father can be at ease, please. Nyen Ciu murmured as she stared at Etienne. You must become stronger and get a good result in the divine realm battle to heaven. If Lee Tianyun was next to her, he would definitely be shocked when he heard this. This heavenly mandate region lord was actually Nyen Ciu's father? That was impossible, right? If the heavenly mandate region lord was Nyen Ciu's father, he would have brought him here long ago or kept him here. But everything happened just like that. Nyen Ciu came from Fanyu. At the same time, Lee Tianyun in the god-slaying matrix felt the murderous aura in his body and was stunned. Swish. Suddenly, a beam of sword light shot towards him. Lee Tianyun didn't even bother to look at it. He quickly turned around and sent a kick out. Boom. The cultivator exploded into a bloody mist with a single kick, turning into a huge pile of experience points. Ding. Successfully killed cultivator with cultivation deviation, 7th level Star Lord. Reward, 35. 2 billion EXP2. 3 million CPS, 250,000 SPs. Obtained item Murderous Energy, can replenish Murderous Energy. The EXP immediately surged up. This was 32 times the Express, which was quite impressive. At the same time, after killing him, the cultivator who had gone berserk immediately gave off an even more terrifying killing intent and rushed over. After it entered his body, it rapidly expanded the murderous energy. It was much better than absorbing it slowly. The problem was that there was too much energy. It surged into one's head all at once, and there was a feeling of losing consciousness. However, Tianyun quickly suppressed it and firmly guarded his mind, not letting the murderous aura affect him in the slightest. No wonder everyone else was focused on defense. Killing one is fine, but if he killed several in a row, wouldn't he immediately go berserk? This is equivalent to taking medicinal pills. It's fine if you throw 1 or 2 at once, but if you take 5 or 6 at once, or even 7 or 8 at once, then your body may explode. Murderous energy? Lee Tianyun immediately used it. The murderous energy quickly rushed into his body and replenished the murderous aura. The effect is quite good. The difference from killing the cultivator who had gone berserk is that Lee Tianyun didn't feel confused at all. It's quite safe, as if it's his own energy. Good stuff. Lee Tianyun was happy. He looked up at the cultivators who continued to rush towards him, and his eyes suddenly lit up. For others, it's extremely cautious, but for him, it's a rare experience. He wants to level up. Use 200 times EXP card, 150 times EXP card, 100 times EXP card, 50 times CPS card, 50 times CPS card. He began to crazily use most of the EXP cards. If he doesn't have any, he will buy them in the shop. The crazy point and EXP obtained by killing cultivators above the Star Lord level is too high. How can he waste this opportunity? After stacking all of them, the EXP multiplier is 532 times. He didn't buy the small multiplier, but he bought the big multiplier. Tianyun took out the celestial spear and covered it a little. Even if there are cultivators from the heavenly mandate divine realm here, they won't be able to recognize it. Shoo! A cold light flashed, and the cultivator who rushed towards him was directly pierced by the spear and turned into a cloud of blood mist that flowed into his body. It's too easy to kill them, it's basically no different from drinking water. Immediately afterward, a murderous intent poured into his body, but it didn't affect him at all. On the contrary, the EXP that surged up gave him a strong sense of impact. Ding! Successfully killed the cultivator who went berserk, Star Lord level 6, gained 532 billion EXP, 33 million CPS, 4 million SBS, obtained murderous energy. Terrifying EXP, terrifying crazy point, and terrifying SBS. This is what made him feel extremely shocked. It's really terrible, it made him feel very shocked. This is the effect of the high multiplier of EXP card. After stacking, it reached an extremely terrifying level. Of course, he still didn't level up. The EXP that he needs now is too terrifying. He needs extremely terrifying EXP in all aspects. However, more than 500 billion EXP is still a big gap to fill. Kill! Tianyun didn't stop. Like a gust of wind, he slaughtered the cultivators in front of him. Like poking through tofu, he easily killed them with his spear. The violent power, coupled with the overbearing mid-grade reincarnation level divine spear, he is unstoppable. Nian Xiu, who was under the stage, was shocked looking at the crazy Lee Tianyun. I told him to be a little more high-profile, but it doesn't mean that he should be so high-profile, killing so many at once. Even if his mental strength is good, it is easy to go berserk. Not to mention Nian Xiu, everyone looked at Lee Tianyun like he is a fool. I take back what I said before. Don't say half an hour, I feel that he will be dead in a minute. Ahem, that's right. Such a crazy slaughter. Who doesn't want to kill those who went berserk, to replenish their murderous intent, but can they absorb it? Who cares? Anyway, he will go berserk. It's really troublesome. These guys think that they are very powerful, but in the end, they are just adding trouble to others. Chapter 927. Lee Tianyun's craziness caused many people to be deeply shocked. Most of them despise him in their hearts. This was what a reckless person was like. If he wanted to court death, then he might as well send him on his way. Friend, isn't your disciple going to remind you? A Lord of Heaven frowned as he walked over and said to Nian Xiu. The other Lord of Heaven were the same. They were all very dissatisfied with Nian Xiu. If he continues to act crazily, it will affect his disciple's cultivation, especially after chi deviation. With such tyrannical power, won't even his disciple be killed? Don't worry, he knows his limits. Nian Xiu did not listen to the Lord of Heaven's words and allowed Lee Tianyun to act recklessly. Nian Xiu originally wanted to stop him, but she did not plan to dissuade him. She let Lee Tianyun handle everything himself. Before going up, she already said it clearly. As for what Tianyun chooses, that is his own business. But if he continues like this, his chi deviation will affect my disciple. That Lord of Heaven shouted angrily, "You are being irresponsible." Yes, so what if I am not responsible? If you have the ability, then let your disciple stop him. Nian Xiu was just that tyrannical. She was too lazy to care about the other party. That Lord of Heaven was about to explode from anger. If Nian Xiu was not also a Lord of Heaven, he would have slapped her to death. Good. This Lord of Heaven was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He had never suffered such treatment before. He wanted to make a move, but he did not dare to. He did not know what to do. He could only stand at the side and watch. After all, Tianyun displayed his tyrannical power. He knew that his disciple would not be able to stop him. One spear to kill a chi deviation cultivator. If it was them, who would dare to act recklessly? Even if a chi deviation cultivator's battle strength was not as good as a normal cultivator, the difference was not that big. To be able to kill him with one spear without any resistance meant that Tianyun was absolutely tyrannical. Even Nian Xiu felt that this was very domineering, proving that she did not choose the wrong person. The problem was that he was too domineering. He had killed too many cultivators who had gone mad. Could he bear it? Naturally, Tianyun had his own plans. He would continue to kill his way through the dungeon, his EXP continuously rising. He had a time limit. He had to kill as many as he could before his experience card's time was up. Putting aside the number of levels, he had to at least break through to the second or third refinement of the Earth's sovereign realm. That was his goal. Bang. One by one, the cultivators who were suffering from chi deviation were pierced by his spear, turning into a bloody mist that drifted in the air. His murderous aura kept surging in, trying to make him suffer from chi deviation. However, after killing more than 10 of them in one breath, his eyes were still clear and bright. There was no problem at all. There was no pressure at all when he absorbed it. It wasn't that the strength of his soul was so terrifying that it could withstand any kind of killing intent, but he discovered that he could store the killing intent that surged in. Every time the killing intent surged in, the system would remind him if he wanted to devour it. Tianyun definitely wouldn't devour it immediately. He would first throw it into his inventory, and after absorbing the previous one, he would absorb the next one. It was that simple. This was the same as devouring the flames of the green nether moon. He could temporarily not absorb it and just throw it into his inventory. It was such a simple matter. He would first kill them, place them in his inventory, and then slowly absorb them. There was no rush. This was the reason why he dared to kill so unscrupulously. It wasn't because his soul was really heaven-defying. No matter how heaven-defying he was, he wouldn't be so heaven-defying that he feared nothing. With such a cultivation, how could he immediately kill the Lord of Heaven? Of course, that was impossible. His crazy mode hadn't reached such a level yet, and there was no way to alleviate his murderous aura. Ding! Congratulations to player Tianyun for successfully breaking through to the first refinement Earth Monarch. Now that he had successfully broken through to the first refinement Earth Monarch level, his stats in all aspects immediately soared. From the original 7,000 star power, it shot up to 21,000 star power in one go. He had just broken through to the first refinement Earth Monarch level, but he had already reached the second refinement Earth Monarch level. However, he wasn't happy at all, because he saw that the experience he needed was actually as high as 100 trillion to break through to the second refinement Earth Monarch level. Breaking through to the first refinement Earth Monarch level from the peak of the Star Lord level only required 10 trillion experience points. When he jumped to the Earth Monarch level, he needed 100 trillion, which made him so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Killing a 5th or 6th level Star Lord was only slightly more than 500 billion, and this included the terrifying 500 times stacking. Even with the 500 times stacking, he still needed to kill 200 more to obtain that much experience. This was still under the 500 times stacking. If he didn't have the 500 times stacking, wouldn't he be killing until he vomited blood? If I can kill Earth Monarchs, then it will be much easier to level up. If he wanted to level up faster, The best way was naturally to kill those of the same level or kill those of a higher level. Otherwise, it would be extremely difficult to level up. Even with the several hundred times stacking, his speed was still rather slow. However, only star venerates could appear here and not those of a higher cultivation. He could only rely on numbers to make up for it. After breaking through, Xiao Chen's combat prowess became even more startling. It was even easier for him to kill. Although Earth monarchs could not come up here, breaking through here did not count. They could still stay here. This was a loophole. If Xiao Chen went out, he probably would not be able to come back in. Continue. Yi Tianyun continued killing, crazily slaughtering his way down. He only killed cultivators that had entered berserking chi deviation. As for the others, he would not kill them. Those that entered berserking chi deviation were no longer living beings but just puppets. There was no way to save them. Before Xiao Chen came down, Nian Ci had already mentioned this point. Those that he saved were all lunatics. There was no point at all. As Xiao Chen continued killing 10-odd people, the cultivators below exchanged glances. How could he kill so many cultivators that had entered berserking chi deviation, but nothing happened to him? Damn it. What's going on? He has already killed over 20, and he still hasn't entered berserking chi deviation? Those Lord of Heaven were dumbfounded. If this carried on, wouldn't those cultivators that had entered berserking chi deviation be wiped out? Impossible. At most, he would continue killing a few more. By then, he would definitely enter berserking chi deviation. Some people did not believe that Yi Tianyun could continue killing. They had seen cultivators that could endure for a long time, but in the end, they had to take a break before they dared to continue killing. If he continued killing, he would definitely enter berserking chi deviation. There were no exceptions. Nian Ciyu looked at Yi Tianyun's back as he slaughtered crazily, and her heart was filled with anticipation. This was because she recalled his performance on the election platform. Yi Tianyun had also created a record, which was a one-time success. Chapter 928. I have a premonition that he will definitely succeed and be able to take down this killing god imprint. Nian Ciyu looked at Yi Tianyun on the stage with flickering eyes. Nian Ciyu had this feeling. After all, Tianyun was killing in all directions and killing so many cultivators in a row. If he could still persevere, he would definitely be able to take down this imprint. Yi Tianyun didn't know if she had a premonition or not, but he was very clear that he had to take down this killing god imprint. Only then would he be able to grasp stronger power. More importantly, there was a feeling that drove him to condense this blood-colored energy. Regardless of whether he had this feeling or not, his main goal now was to kill the enemies crazily and obtain more experience. After killing all the way, his experience soared and he was prepared to break through to the second refinement of the Earth Monarch realm. However, under his crazy killing, most of the cultivators who had gone berserk were basically killed by him. This scene made them dumbfounded and they didn't know what was going on. He had killed so many cultivators who had gone berserk in one go and yet he hadn't gone berserk. This was something that they found unbelievable. How is this possible? He killed so many people who had gone berserk in a row and nothing happened to him? This is too unbelievable. This is impossible. I feel that he can at most persevere for a little longer. I think so too. He can at most persevere for a little longer. They still thought that Yi Tianyun would fail and become one of those losers. However, the more they thought so, the more Yi Tianyun was fine. He still maintained his original state and continued to rush up. The blood-red energy in his body grew larger and larger, preparing to condense into a huge red crystal ball. It looked rather demonic. "Get out of here! Get out of here!" Suddenly, someone shouted from the side. He clutched his head and twisted around as if he had gone mad. "Senior brother, what's wrong? Can't hold on any longer? I'll bring you out." At this moment, his companion beside him pulled him and wanted to drag him out. Just as he was about to drag his senior brother out, the senior brother's eyes turned red as he raised the long sword in his hand and stabbed over. This junior brother didn't even have time to react before his body was pierced and a red energy surged into his body. In the blink of an eye, this junior brother's body trembled, and his eyes immediately turned red. Without a doubt, he had fallen into chi deviation. He had only been stabbed once, but he had already experienced chi deviation. It was obvious that a terrifying amount of energy had surged into his body, rapidly causing him to experience chi deviation. But after this chi deviation, junior brother went crazy. He immediately fiercely attacked his companions. Come out quickly. Below, the Lord of Heaven immediately shouted, telling his people to quickly escape, or else they would be attacked by his companions. One by one, they hurriedly tried to escape. However, just as they were about to escape, they were quickly intercepted by cultivators who had gone berserk. They attacked them crazily. The murderous aura in the surroundings rose rapidly. In an instant, it was many times stronger than before. It surged into the bodies of the cultivators who had gone berserk. Under such circumstances, whether it was his attack or power, they were all greatly enhanced. It was as if this murderous aura had greatly increased their strength. In the blink of an eye, another person was attacked without any ability to resist. Compared to the ones they had faced before, they were much stronger and more agile. After being struck, one would quickly go berserk. There was basically no time. The speed of the erosion was too fast. Save me! They shouted, scared out of their wits by the situation in front of them. How could they fight like this? At this moment, a figure rushed over, turned into a ray of light, and easily killed those cultivators who had gone berserk. Everyone focused their eyes and saw that the person who had rushed over to save them was Ikyun. Under this madness, he quickly killed them with his sword. Hurry up and leave. Tianyun looked at them indifferently, indicating for them to leave quickly. Thank you. After thanking him, they quickly escaped. Apart from that, the same thing was happening in other places. One by one, they had gone berserk. The speed was much faster than before. The murderous aura released by the entire god-killing formation was much stronger than before. It felt like it had been upgraded by a level. Under such circumstances, one by one, they quickly escaped and did not dare to stay on the surface any longer. If they continued to stay, they would definitely die on the surface. It looked like they were not dead, but they were already dead. What replaced them were just walking corpses. What is going on? The murderous aura released by the god-killing formation is several times stronger than before? That's right. This murderous aura is much stronger than before. It feels like the god-killing formation is angry. Could it be caused by that kid? After continuously killing these cultivators who had gone berserk, the effect started to increase? All of them looked at each other. After thinking about it carefully, it was really possible. After all, it had been maintaining this situation previously. Only after Tianyun went up and started killing, the god-killing formation suddenly had this kind of situation. It's all your disciple's fault. If he did not keep killing those cultivators, how could the god-killing formation trigger this situation? At this moment, a Lord of Heaven roared at Nyen Ciu. A few of his disciples had died. It would be strange if he was in a good mood. The others also looked angrily at Nyen Ciu and Tianyun. They felt that it was them who spoiled the good thing. Otherwise, they would not have suffered such a huge loss. Not only did a disciple of the Lord of Heaven suffer a calamity, the other disciples also suffered a calamity. The losses were very heavy. The disciples that they brought here were all pretty good. The death of even one made them feel pain. He had spent so many resources to nurture him. If he was gone just like that, it would be a great waste. Especially now that the Divine Domain Ascension battle was approaching, they brought people here to temper themselves. To a large extent, it was to increase their strength. Fortunately, in the Divine Domain Ascension battle, they obtained extremely good results. Now that so many people had died, how could they not be angry? Nyen Ciu looked at them coldly and sneered. Looks like you broke through to the level of the Lord of Heaven but lived like a dog. If you don't have the ability, don't blame others for harming you. What did my people do wrong? They were just purely killing cultivators who had gone berserk. Logically speaking, after the massacre, everything should be quiet. You should be able to meditate and cultivate peacefully up there. What about now? You don't have the ability and you blame us for coming? If it was me, if your disciples had such ability, they would have started killing crazily long ago. In the end, it's because you don't have the ability. Don't talk about bastards. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.